Hey guys, hope you are well. So, welcome to the Anime Fictions 2.0. This is the story about what if Naruto has would release and mangekyo and neglected by the village. Hope you all will love this what if. If you did, do subscribe for more awesome what if. Share with your friends and enjoy them. Check out the other videos I have created. Comment down your opinion. So, without wasting any time, let's jump into the first part. Small boy was running through Konoha and all the trees and plants looked withered, like they were sad that something happened. By most people it was shrugged off as a freak of nature. But not everybody. Sandaime Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen saw this happening when his teacher Senju Hashirama was sad or angry. Only one Kekii Genkai could do that, fabled by the power of Senju Hashirama, Mokuton. Kekii Genkai, which was able to suppress chakra and was as strong as Uchiha Sharingan. Looks like young Naruto has Mokuton. He murmured and looked at his Anbu Get Me Tenzo. Few moments later Anbu with Tora mask entered the Hokage office and he was as shocked as Hokage. He too felt this change in trees and plants all over Konoha. Mokuton user? Simply asked Anbu and Hokage nodded. Very strong affinity to it. Maybe even stronger than Hashirama-sensei. If he's feeling so sad that leaves and plants wither, there's only one person, replied Hokage and looked at his Anbu whose eyes widened. You don't mean Uzumaki Naruto? Quietly asked Tora. Yes. Only he can be so sad to cause plants to wither. I will find him, and we will meet him. You will be his teacher till he graduates. Later you will split his time with his sensei, said Hokage and took out his all-seeing orb. He placed his hand on the orb and channeled some chakra to locate Naruto. Few moments later it showed a small boy in tattered clothes standing near a large empty compound. He is near Senju compound. Let's go. Meanwhile Naruto was running away from the mob and finished his escape in front of Senju compound, where he felt something familiar calling him inside, like it was his. He wasn't the most educated boy, due to being shunned and badly treated, but even he recognized tridents visible over the gates. It was a sign of Senju Ikizoku. Naruto! Shouted someone from behind him. He quickly turned around and saw Hokage with one of his Anbu. Yes, Gigi? Asked Naruto, happy that Hokage found him. Did you learn how to channel chakra in the academy? Asked Hokage, once he greeted Naruto. Yes. But why are you asking? Replied blonde boy. Channel your chakra into this paper, said Hokage and gave him chakra-sensitive paper. Naruto channeled his chakra into it, and Hokage's eyes widened when he saw the results. It split into two parts which sprouted a few leaves. Impossible. First natural Mokuton user from the times of my sensei, murmured Hokage, not believing his eyes. You're a lucky boy. You have Shodaime Hokage Kekii Genkai Mokuton, which means you're the Senju heir. What? Shouted Naruto. Yes. That's right, you're a descendant of one of the founding clans of Konoha and I think it's time to break the placed on you, said Hokage and placed his hand on Naruto's forehead and channeled a small amount of chakra into the Naruto system, thus interrupting the flow of it, and thus breaking the illusion. When it was gone Naruto was 1 or 2 inches taller. On his forehead appeared a small violet rectangle, and on his face appeared the same 3 marks that adorned Nidaime's face. Are those Nidaime marks? Asked shocked Tora. Yes. Naruto, take a look, said Hokage and gave boy small mirror. What happened to my body? Shouted Naruto, when he noticed changes in body look. We hid those features, so you could be safe during your childhood, at least from kidnapping or assassins. Calmly said Hokage Tora, I want you to train Naruto during those 4 years that he has before graduation. I feel that in the Senju compound you will find a lot of useful things. Naruto, you won't need to be in the academy until the last year of it, but instead Tora will prepare you for life as a shinobi. I will also teach you ways of politics and diplomacy. Honestly speaking, you're my best choice as my successor. You're an unpolished gem right now that needs to be molded and polished. Quietly said Hokage, while pushing open doors to Senju compound. Cool. Thanks Gigi, said Naruto, while walking behind Hokage and into the Senju compound. This is all mine? He quietly asked. Yes. I will get all the paperwork done today, so you can move here. Tomorrow you will start your training with Tenzo. Hokage looked at Anbu and said, take off your mask. Hi, replied Tora/Tenzo and removed his mask. Naruto, I will be here in the morning. Now you have time to explore compound. After he finished, Tenzo disappeared and left Naruto with Hokage. It looks amazing, said Naruto in a voice full of awe. Compound was big and full of plants and trees, which reacted weirdly to his chakra. They started to blossom immediately and grow. What's going on? He asked, pointing at plants that suddenly blossomed. Your chakra Naruto-kun did all of this. My sensei Shodaime Hokage caused the same reaction wherever he went. I remember that when I mastered the first that he taught me, Doton, Dorihiki, Earth Wall, he was so happy that the whole Konoha looked like a garden for the next few weeks. Said Hiruzen and looked at Naruto, who looked happy, and that explained why those trees behaved so weirdly. What's that? Asked Naruto, pointing to doors that were in front of them and were locked with blood seal. There was Tobirama, or Hashirama study, or maybe one of the libraries. Cut your finger and press blood against the lock. Told him Hokage, and doors unlocked almost immediately after contact with Naruto chakra. How? Why? When? Asked stunned Naruto, shocked by doors opening after contact with your blood. Blood seal. You're a descendant of Senju Tobirama, so I'm not shocked by it. Let's see what's inside, replied Hiruzen, and gently pressed doors which revealed a big circular room. Completely made out different types of wood, walls were made out of darker shades of wood with honeycomb structure full of scrolls in it. Floor was made out of polished light wood with 20 beams made out of darker one coming from the middle of the room, where there was a large sculptured pillar of wood with a giant scroll inside and a smaller one to the left. Bigger one had a Senju trident and a Uchiha fan placed on it. Roof was made out of darker wood, but with 20 distinctive beams made out of light, almost white wood, coming from the central pillar. On the other side of the room, opposite to the doors, was an armor stand with blue plate armor with fur collar. Hapuri was laying on a small cushion beside it, and a small scroll was laying on another one. It's the Senju brothers' library. Brothers known to you as Shodai and Nidaime Hokage. That armor and Hapuri in the back of the room belong to my sensei Nidaime. But that huge scroll in this pillar is the Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara scroll. It was part of agreement between them during the creation of Konoha to share their and clan ones between them, so they created a scroll and gave one copy to Uchiha and second to Senju. Smaller one is Senju Hashirama Mokutan and other personnel. Said Hokage, and Naruto's eyes widened. He carefully approached the Hapuri of Nidaime and lifted it from the cushion on which it was laying. It felt right in his hands, like it was part of him, and now it was returning to its proper owner. I don't know why and how, but it feels right in my hands. Quietly said Naruto once he lifted it. You're his heir, so I'm not shocked. Explore the compound on your own. I need to get back and finish paperwork for today. On weekends I will teach you ways of diplomacy, etiquette, and politics. So you will be prepared for being announced as my heir. Do not tell me about it. I don't want more headaches right now. Hokage said and ruffled Naruto's hair. When Tenzo returned the next day, he was surprised to find Naruto reading a scroll that he found in the Senju library. He never thought to see this child so focused and quiet. He always was a giant yellow ball of energy. Hey Naruto, he said loud enough for him to hear and get his attention. Hey Tenzo-sensei, replied Naruto, and put the scroll on the ground to his right. I will mostly train you in all aspects of shinobi arts, but for that we need some basics to work upon. So first thing I will teach you is one of clones, that's designed for your chakra capacity. It's Kage Bunshin and you only need one hand seal, which looks like this. Tenzo said and put his hands in a cross-like form. Normally it's taught to in some, but because of your chakra reserves which are one of biggest in the village it will help us greatly. How can it help us? I'm miserable with Bunshin, I never could perform it properly. Moaned Naruto. You have too much chakra and too little control for such. It's an academy for a reason, it requires almost no chakra, so most people with a large amount of it have trouble with it. Answered Yamato. Kage Bunshin is level for a reason, it requires much more chakra, so you won't have any problems. Now make one and tell it to go with my clone. Ordered Yamato and made a clone which took the Naruto clone to a distant tree. It whispered something into its ear and punched it, thus dispelling. That hurt. Murmured Naruto and his eyes widened. Original body learns everything that clones learn. He said way louder. Yes. That's the whole advantage of it. It can learn only memories, so you can't use it for physical training, but you can use it for taijutsu training. Since muscle memory is just memory. Now make around 100 clones, and we will start. Told him Yamato and waited for clones. Once they were done he started the second part of his explanation. Naruto, you have monstrous chakra reserves and they will get only bigger. So you need to master chakra control. The Senju clan has good control, but even it won't be good without training. First thing is tree walking, or as I like to call it, tree climbing without hands. You use chakra to stick to its surface. Too little and you won't stick, and too much you will be thrown back. Order 60 to work on it, and after 20 minutes start dispelling them in 10, make 5 minutes delay between doing that. Order 20 to do the same thing, but on water, it's harder because you need to constantly fine-tune the strength of the pulses. Dispel them in pairs after 20 minutes. Do that in 10-minute intervals. The last 10 will go with my clone and start working on taijutsu, while you will go shopping with me," said Tenzo, and clones nodded and went to do what they were ordered to. "You know that I'm kicked out of almost all stores?" quietly asked Naruto. "Yes. That's the reason why I'm coming with you. Before you couldn't use certain shops, but since I'm with you owners won't care, and once I mention your heritage they will, or at least should be friendly. But you also changed a lot, those 3 night aim marks and that seal on your forehead," said Yamato, and motioned for Naruto to follow him. They left the compound, and outside of it was shinobi district and clan compounds, excluding Aburame and Inuzuka, which had them close to walls and forests outside of the village. To the left was a road leading to Hokage Tower, academy, and some training fields that were used by shinobi and academy students. But the main and biggest training fields were outside of Konoha walls and near walls, so shinobi training couldn't interfere with normal activities. However, they turned right and went towards the market district, to be exact, tending to the needs of shinobi and clans. They were selling the best equipment and supplies, and the owners were usually retired shinobi or clan members. So they knew what ninja needed and knew what was best for them. Quality to price ratio was also quite good. Of course, it wasn't a cheap weapon, but considering that most things were crafted or manufactured out of finest quality chakra metal, steel, wood, and cloth, it was rather reasonable. There was also a good chance to find some unique weapons or artifacts belonging to legendary shinobi from the past. "Naruto, I understand that you love oranges, but for shinobi it's a bad color. It's usually bright, flashy, and hard to conceal. Better is even red, which is at least darker and can be mistaken for blood or some leaves. So the first thing is to change your outfit. Best place would be here, along with weapons. Higurashi Ninja Stores," said Yamato, and pointed to a large store in front of them. "Is it only me, or people are looking at me differently?" quietly asked Naruto, after he noticed glares from people. They weren't filled with hate, most of them were just curiosity and interest. "They're looking differently. After all, it's a shinobi part of the village, and shinobi usually don't have prejudices against comrades. They can kill you on the battlefield," replied Yamato, and they entered a shop which was full of weapons, ninja clothes, supplies, and other necessary things for ninja. Yamato-san greeted the rather bulky and tall man standing behind the counter. He had brown hair and blue friendly eyes, but there was also a hint of steel in them. That suggests that he was shinobi in his past. "And who is that boy?" "Higurashi-san, how would you react if the heir to Senju was found?" Quietly, Yamato, and Higurashi's eyes widened a little. Especially after he took a longer look at Naruto. Same shape of face, same regal grace, same marks as night aim, similar body shape. But also that seal on his forehead was a sign of him belonging to Senju, only they have chakra control and capacity to pull that off at this age. "So how can I help?" asked after a while owner of shop. "Full change of outfit for him. Probably one that will be used under Senju armor, handguards made out of chakra conductive metal, a few hundred chakra metal shuriken and kunai, and dozens of training ones. 5 sets of Fuma shuriken, dozen meters of ninja wire, and I think that's all," finished Yamato, and Naruto's eyes widened. That was going to be his. It was also top quality one. Chakra metal was expensive, and that numbers normally would depleted almost any purse. Wow. Just wow. Only weapons will cost you around 500 ryo per piece. So only shuriken and kunai will cost you around 500,000 ryo for 500 of each. Training ones are cheap, so only around 50,000 for them. Shuriken around 50,000 for a set, and you want 5, so another 250,000, ninja wire another 10,000. Hard guards another 100,000. That's only weapons and hand guards. Who is funding this? Last time I remember a similar order when ANBU was refreshing their armory. But anyways, 910,000 for weapons and hand guards. For clothes, Naruto came with me. Finished Higurashi and motioned Naruto to follow him. The Senju clan is paying for this. You know that their treasury wasn't used in 20 or 30 years and was only growing. And he as heir of the clan can spend it when needed, replied Yamato just before Naruto and Higurashi disappeared in another part of the shop. So you want to use plate armor? He asked Naruto. Yes, Higurashi-san, replied boy and looked around. Don't use Higurashi-san. I think you will be a frequent customer, so feel free to use my name Takashi, said now named Higurashi Takashi. Okay. But why it matters if I want to use plate armor? Asked Naruto. Because clothes that are used with plate armor are different from normal ones. They're thicker and made from different, harder and lighter materials. Also, mesh armor worn under it is thicker and tightly woven. Along with that, there is a difference in placement of clan symbols, explained Higurashi and motioned Naruto to follow him into a part of the store with ANBU clothes. Your clan colors were dull red, black, and deep, dark blue. So I think those will be best, he said, pointing to a large stash of dark blue t-shirts with Senju signs on them. 2 were on the end of short sleeves, while the third one was on the back of the shirt. They were also laying black sweatpants with blue additions. Yes. So 10 of those and maybe 10 or 20 of black ones as well? Suggested Naruto. Why not? Now about mesh armor. Normally it's loosely woven, but that one won't work in this case. You will need one design for ANB usage. It's tightly woven and durable. It also has space for inserting additional pieces of armor, said Higurashi once he grabbed those pieces mentioned before and walked with Naruto toward area where was only armor and various pieces of it. Last but not least, handguards. I would opt for a full-length one with gloves. While half ones aren't bad, you need to be careful with them. Try those, he said, and gave Naruto ones with Senju sign on them. Not bad. I like them, replied Naruto once he tried them. They fit him and looked nice. Also, gloves that were with them covered his hand and gave additional protection, but didn't limit the range of his movements. They almost felt like a second layer of skin. Good. I think that's all that you need for now. So head back and see what Yamato found, while we were rummaging here, said Higurashi and guided Naruto to the place from which they started. So Naruto, did you find everything? Asked Yamato, once he saw them emerging from clothing section. Yes, Naruto nodded and walked to Yamato. Overall, it will cost you a lot. Something like 1,200,000 ryo, replied Takashi and waited for Yamato to pay for it. It's a pleasure doing business with you. Yeah. But paying so much money isn't funny, grunted Yamato, and walked out of the shop with Naruto. Senju were a rich clan and owned a lot of land in Konoha and Hi-no-Kuni, but even their treasures had some history. Any more shopping needs to be done? Asked Naruto once they were yet again on the street. No. For now, that's all. All necessary books should be in the Senju library, and if they're missing, there's always Hokage one, replied. They returned to compound where most of clones finished dispelling and only few remained, but first they stopped for small lunch in one of restaurants in Shinobi district, but even those clones that remained were running only on fumes of chakra and were going to dispel on their own in next few minutes. Change into those new clothes, dispel clones and be back here in let's say 20 minutes, said Yamato and started thinking. Weapon handling or taijutsu katas? Or both? Why not both? He has enough chakra for another few hundred clones, so 200 will try water walking, another 2 tree climbing and 50 on taijutsu katas. While original one will work with me on weapon handling. Yamato didn't have a chance to finish thinking, before he heard footsteps on the porch leading to the place where he was sitting. Out of the compound emerged completely changed Naruto. He now sported black sweatpants, tied around his ankles by white bandages, from under which were visible traces of mesh armor. On his torso was a blue t-shirt with Senju clan signs and under it was visible mesh armor, and on his hands were hand guards and gloves. You look good. Almost like shinobi. If I didn't know you before, I would say that you're a completely new person, carefully said Yamato. Thanks, sensei. So what do we do now? Asked Naruto, who was once again full of energy. Make 450 clones. 200 will work on water walking, 200 on tree walking, while 50 will go with my clone to train taijutsu, said Yamato before he made clones on his own and took 50 clones with him. What do you want to do with me? Asked Original One, when they were alone. Weapon handling. I don't trust the academy to teach anything properly from the time when civilians took it over. So I will show it for you from beginning, with addition of few things that I learned in ANBU, said Yamato and gave Naruto few kunai. They feel good. Those in the academy were much heavier and not so well balanced. They felt wrong, said Naruto once he took them and held them in his hand. What do you mean by wrong? Asked Yamato and signaled for hidden ANBU to get closer. They were quietly searching for evidence that the academy was trying to teach him wrong, and giving him a faulty weapon could be an example of it. He already noticed several mistakes in taijutsu katas that Naruto performed, and it could only be caused by intentional actions on teacher's behalf. and his clone was busy fixing them. They felt like they weren't balanced at all. They were either too heavy or too light, and from what I know, all of them should be around the same mass," replied Naruto, and Yamato's eyes widened slightly. "I will need to talk with Hokage about it." "That's a nice piece of evidence. One night I might exchange the whole academy's stash of kunai for normal ones and give them to a few friends in ANBU to check them. When they have trouble handling them, it means that they're faulty," he thought, while the same thoughts were running through the head of ANBU that was watching over them. "Yes. They should be around the same mass. Try those that you have in your hand." "Aim for my kunai," said Yamato before throwing his kunai into the bark of a tree that was around 10 meters from them. Naruto followed suit, and those 5 that he had in hand struck home in various distances from the tree. 2 of them landed almost on top of Yamato kunai, while the rest flew wild. "I never saw that bad aim. I guess we need to throw everything that the academy taught you out of the window. And start from the very beginning," murmured Yamato. "Okay. I saw a few minor flaws and one major. Never throw when inhaling, do that when exhaling," he added loudly. "In the academy they taught us to do that when inhaling." Naruto and Yamato's eyes widened even more. That was a rather clear example of what they were searching for, and Hokage wasn't generous when someone attacked his family or did something wrong to them. They were wrong. When doing that when inhaling, you slightly change the path of flight, while doing it when exhaling, you give it slightly more force. Try it again. Yamato and Naruto took 5 more kunai and threw them. This time they were much closer to the kunai that Yamato used to mark the middle of the target. "That's better. Way better, in fact. There are some minor flaws, but they should be corrected on their own. Try the same thing with shuriken," told him Yamato. Naruto took 10 shuriken and threw them at the target, one after another. They ended up close to the desired middle of the target. "I don't believe it. I always had problems with throwing at the academy," said Naruto and shook his head a few times. He looked happier than before. Everything started going better than in the academy, and Sensei was friendly and focused on him. "Well, maybe you were just badly taught why it might happen. Hokage will explain to you. Now I think it's time for you to learn first elemental and elemental manipulation. For elemental manipulation, make 100 clones and tell 50 to soak the leaf using only chakra and another 50 to make it crumble," told Yamato, and clones went to work on it, while the original one was left with Yamato. "I remember that in the academy they told us that there are few natures and each is weaker against one and stronger against the other," said Naruto. "That's right," said Yamato and quickly drew a diagram that showed it. Katon, fire, was weak against Sueton, water, but strong against Futon, wind. Futon was weak against Katon, but strong against Raiton, lightning. Raiton was weak against Futon, but strong against Doton, earth. Which is weak against Raiton, but strong against Sueton. Last but not least, Sueton is weak against Doton, but strong against Katon. There are also Kekei Genkai and other bloodlines. It is important to know that the Mokuton that you have is created by mixing Doton and Sueton chakra. It's good to learn what other Kekei Genkai are and how they look, so you know how to fight against them. But for now you don't need it." "Why those exercises that my clones are doing are so important?" asked Naruto. "Because they're helping you with control of your chakra, and we won't start Mokuton till you master Doton and Sueton. For next 2 weeks your clones will work on chakra control and nature manipulation. The second group will work on throwing speed, accuracy, taijutsu katas and any weapons you want to master. Your original will work with me on physical training, chakra theory, trap building and other miscellaneous things," said Yamato. "I think I like it," replied Naruto. "Good. You will do that for weeks. Weekends are for you to relax and do what you want," finished Yamato, and they continued to work on basics for a few more hours. They didn't even notice the flow of time, and it was already evening, so Yamato bid farewell and Naruto dragged himself to one of the bedrooms inside the compound. Time skip. Weekend. "Naruto-kun, how are you?" asked Hokage once he entered Senju compound. "Gigi. I'm quite good," replied Naruto, who emerged from one of the rooms in his new outfit, which shocked Hokage. He could never imagine Naruto wearing something else. That his obnoxious orange jumpsuit would kill me. But somehow Yamato convinced him to change it, and with this one he looked like a shinobi. He also reminded him of Senju Tobirama. He almost looked like him, only his eyes and hairs were different. Tobirama was albino, and as such he had red eyes and white hairs. "What did Yamato to you that you changed outfit?" asked Hiruzen. "I realized that I need to grow up. That orange is anything, but not ninja suited. Also, it would look silly with that armor. He relied. Good. I thought that you would like to use Tobirama-sensei armor. Now follow me to one of the rooms that you probably haven't seen yet, said Hokage and disappeared with Naruto in a maze of corridors inside the compound. When they emerged from it, they stood in front of a large, brightly lit room with various maps pinned to walls and multiple scrolls laying on shelves. On the floor of the room was a large plush beige carpet with a Uchiha fan, Uzumaki swirl, and Senju trident around the Konoha symbol. Leave. What was here? I feel calm and my mind is focused here, asked Naruto, while looking around. Senju Hashirama study and first Hokage office. I intentionally took you here, so I can explain to you basic world diplomacy and your heritage. Full heritage. I also know that there will be no moles here, said Hokage and sat on one of the comfortable couches that were around the room placed in 2s and 3. What do you want to learn first? World diplomacy or your full heritage? My full heritage, replied Naruto, while he was looking around. He already liked this room. He felt like there was some sort of barrier around it, keyed to a specific type of blood, so only chosen people could enter it. I need to ask Gigi about those barriers. I could sense a few of them around the compound and one that is around the whole building, he thought. About your heritage. Your mother was a red-hot-blooded habanero or Red Death, depending on who you ask. Uzumaki Kushina, last of Uzumaki clan from Yuzushiogakure. She died on the day of your birth after Kyubi was ripped from her. Your father was Namikaze Minato Yandame Hokage, better known as Kiroi Senko. He was the grandson of Senju Tobirama. We kept your heritage a secret so you could have a relatively safe childhood. At least without assassins and kidnapping attempts on a daily basis. Finished Hokage, and Naruto on one hand was angry, yet on another was happy that he was a descendant of such noble clans. You said that Kyubi was ripped from my mother. And I read some scrolls in the library here and there. So that means that my mother was a? Quietly asked Naruto, and Hokage only nodded. I'm no master, but when a woman is giving birth to a child, the seal is greatly weakened and the demon can be easily ripped from it, killing his host in the process. I wonder if you can guess the previous and the current one, explained Hokage and looked at Naruto, his expression sad and somber. From what I read, the previous one was Senju Mito, wife of Shodai Hokage. While current one, I would say that I am. Those all insults, calling me demon child, accusing me of deaths caused by Kyubi, etc. Suggest only me. Quietly, Naruto said and looked at Hokage's anger visible in his voice. Yes. Your father wanted you to be called a hero, but I failed him. I created a law banning older people from talking about Kyubi to younger people, so you could have a happy childhood, but I yet again failed. Your father was a man of honor, and he could only use his son as a. He believed that if he couldn't sacrifice his own son, he couldn't ask anybody to sacrifice theirs. Explained to him in soothing voice, trying to calm down Naruto. I understand that. But I'm not happy with it. I was insulted, killed multiple times, scolded for no reason, kicked out of classes, treated like trash my whole life, said Naruto, some anger visible in his voice. But not as much as before, he managed to calm himself down. I understand that. If you want, you may tell your trusted people about it. But be careful with who you want to tell it to. It may strengthen your bonds with that person, or destroy them completely, warned Hokage and took out a small box from his robes. Those are things that your parents wanted to give you. Thank you, Gigi managed to whisper to Naruto while he carefully opened the box that he received from Hokage. Inside of it were 6 scrolls and 1 kunai. But it wasn't a normal one. It was one of the famous Hiraishin kunai that made Yandame famous. After he saw it, his eyes widened visibly. He took out scrolls and placed them on a table that was standing near the couch. His put kunai beside scrolls and let it stay there. Those 2 are scrolls, said Hokage, pointing to 2 bigger ones with red lines. That one is a storage scroll. He added a middle-sized one with black line running through the middle of it, and red ones alongside. Last 3 are will and letters from your parents. He finished and pointed to 3 thin scrolls. But I can't understand why he would give you one of his Hiraishin kunai, unless he wants you to learn his. Added after a while. I think I will read letters from them when I am alone and my mind will be clear, said Naruto before taking 3 thinnest scrolls and hiding them in one of the pockets. After that he opened the storage scroll and looked at Hokage, unsure what to do. Channel a small amount of chakra into it. That's a storage scroll, and that thing before your eyes is a sealing matrix. They generally require some chakra and in some cases blood to open. In this case chakra will be enough. explained Hokage, and Naruto nodded and did that. When he did that, there was a small poof of smoke, and on top of it were laying two swords. Katana was finely crafted with a blade reinforced by many seals, and an image of a lunging dragon was etched on its blade. Guard of it was in the form of an open golden dragon mouth, from which the blade emerged. Handle was made out of black wood in which diamonds were encrusted and was covered by red silk ribbon. Scabbard was made out of dark wood, with steel reinforcements and Uzumaki swirl etched in it. Second sword was of the same design, but its blade was almost black, instead of normal steel gray. Impossible, murmured Hokage when he saw those swords and looked at Naruto. Do you recognize them? You may read about them in scrolls about Shodai wars and the alliance between Senju and Uzumaki. Are those blades of Shodai Uzukage? Quietly asked Naruto. Yes. They ended up in possession of your mother right before she left Uzushigakure, and she carried them to Konoha. Explained Hokage and looked at Naruto, who just nodded. I always wanted to learn Bojutsu, along with. I read that the Sara's summoning contract was one used by Shodai Hokage. Do you know who the current wielder of it is? Asked Naruto, with his classic puppy eyes. That worked on almost everybody. I happen to know that. In fact, I'm the sole owner of it, and we may see if they will accept you as a summoner, said Hokage with a thin smile visible on his face, and ran through seals for some and shouted Kichios no Jutsu. There was a large poof of smoke, and in the middle of the room was standing a large ape. Why did you summon me, Hiruzen? Asked that monkey. There are no enemies here. There are none, but I want to ask you if you would accept another summoner? Asked him Hiruzen. Gigi, maybe some introductions first, interrupted them Naruto. Ah, yes. Sorry about that, Naruto-kun. That monkey is Monkey King Enma. He fought alongside your great-grand-uncle Senju Hashirama. That boy that's sitting there is the great-grand-nephew of your first summoner. His name is Senju Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, said Hiruzen, and Monkey took a long and careful look at Naruto. I like him, Enma said, and snapped his fingers, and in front of him appeared a giant scroll, which was carefully unrolled by him. When he was done, he looked at Naruto and motioned for him to walk to it. Sign your name with blood. Once you do that, run through seals, boar, dog, bird, monkey, ram, and say Kuchios no Jutsu, summoning, explained Monkey. Naruto kneeled, cut his finger, and wrote his name in one of the empty fields. Right beside Sarutobi Hiruzen, before Sarutobi Hiruzen were names of dozens of Senju members, and the first one was Senju Hashirama. Ainu Tori Saru Hitsuji, Kuchios no Jutsu, shouted Naruto, and there was small poof of smoke. In front of him stood a small monkey with golden fur, and Konoha ate. Not bad. You summoned one of messengers, said Hiruzen, and motioned for that monkey to return to its homeland. Same with Enma. What about diplomacy and international politics? Asked Naruto, once they were once again alone. Ah, yes. I chose this room for today because it's the perfect place to teach about it. There are maps and other necessary things, said Hiruzen, and motioned Naruto to follow him, when they were in front of a large wall-mounted map. He straightened a little and looked at Naruto. Do you remember the so-called Great Five? He asked him. That was one of the basic things learned in the academy during the first year. Kiri, Kumo, Iwa, Suna, Konoha, replied Naruto, and Hokage nodded. That's correct. Only the leader of those five can use the Kage title. We are allies with Suna, we are neutral with Kiri. We are disliked by Kumo and hated by Iwa. That's mostly the effect of the last war. They got beaten so badly by your father that they hate him and anybody with blonde hair, said Hokage, slightly chuckling at the last part. What? That's crazy, murmured shocked Naruto, and looked carefully at the map and noticed more symbols. That wasn't mentioned in the academy, at least in classes in which he was present. What are those? He asked, pointing to a symbol that looked like two halves of an arrow pointing downwards. That one? Hokage asked, just to be sure and play a little with Naruto, who only nodded. That's one of the smaller villages, to be exact, Taki. I thought that you were taught about them in the academy, he added with a small frown. I wasn't present during that class, said Naruto, and Hokage nodded. Okay. There are multiple smaller villages, but ones that are important in our world are Taki, Kusa, and Aim. Aim because of their leader that led them from the beginning of the Second War till now, called Sensho no Hanzo, Hanzo the Salamander. He managed to beat all of my students, and he gave them the Sannin title. Kusa because of location and collection. Taki because of hero water, a drug that gave a person that took enormous amounts of chakra at the cost of his health, and eventually life. There is also another factor taken into account when considering world diplomacy: if you stumbled onto scrolls. You should also find this one. Finished Hokage and looked at Naruto, who simply nodded. Jinchuriki? He asked. Yes. We have Kyubi, Suna has Ichibi, Kiri has Sanbai and Rokubi, Iwa Gobi and Yambi, Kumo Nibi and Hachibi, and finally Taki has Nanabai. They were distributed by Senju Hashirama to keep the balance of power between villages, said Hokage, and Naruto nodded. I think that's enough for today. If you can, for next week read those scrolls, added Hokage, and gave Naruto a few scrolls. They are about our village, who is in power, who has what rights, and who is responsible for what. About Bojutsu and Kenjutsu I will try to arrange some teachers for you. Tenzo might teach you the basics of all A and B. You know how to use swords. Once Hokage left the compound, Naruto went to his bedroom, which was located on the second level of the compound with a beautiful view of Konoha and Hokage monuments. It also had a huge balcony. It was a big room with plush carpet covering most of the floor. In the middle of it was black Senju trident, and light wood walls were multiple honeycomb-style holes to store scrolls. There were also few closets and wardrobes to store clothes and other things. He also had a weapon stand in the corner where he placed his new swords and where were his kunai and shuriken. Naruto jumped onto his bed and opened letters from his mother and father. Dear Naruto-chan, if you're reading this, it means that I died right after your birth. I want to say that I will be proud of you, and I hope that you managed to grow into a strong yet caring man. We prepared for your birth, and in these letters are a few seals with useful scrolls for you. Training regime for you once you're old enough to use it. My books and notes if you decide to study it. Your godparents are Jiraiya of Sannin and Inuzuka. If you want something from them, show them this letter. They will help you in whatever you will need. Namikaze ne Uzumaki Kushina. Your loving mother. When Naruto finished reading, the scroll in the corner of his eyes started gathering tears. For whole life he thought that he was an orphan, and now he learned that he had godparents and family. Family was dead, but nonetheless he had some memoirs of them. After he finished reading it, he took a closer look at the end of the scroll where he spotted a few storage seals. He needed to check them later. Dear Naruto-kun, if you're reading it, it means that I failed to protect you and Kushina-chan. I wrote it in case that during your birth something went wrong. Hiruzen was asked by me to give this letter only when you were 16 or your dormant Kekei Genkai was awakened. I wanted to say that I'm sorry for sealing Kyubi inside of you, but I knew that we will need his power in the future. I left some notes on my hidden storage seals at the bottom of the scroll. There is also my personal library. If you received keys to the Senju compound, just add it to their library. If not, use a storage scroll. If you will need help with training or anything, ask Hatake Kakashi. Silver hair, slanted 8 over Sharingan, lover part of face covered by mask, always lazy, ANBU codename Inu. He was one of my students. He knew that I wrote this letter. There is also something that he will recognize hidden in another storage seal at the bottom of it. When he will be questioning you, unseal it and give it to him. He will recognize it without problems. Namikaze Minato, Yandame Hokage. Your loving father. Next day. Naruto, today we will start with the basics of chakra manipulation. Can you name all 12 hand seals? And with what they're connected? Asked him Yamato once they met after weekend. Torai, bird, eye, boar, Inu, dog, Tatsu, dragon, Ashi, ox, Tora, tiger, me, snake, Na, rat, Uma, horse, Saru, monkey, Yu, hare, Hetsuji, ram. About their connections I don't know, Naruto and Yamato nodded. Generally there are no rules about connections. But Mi seal is usually connected with Doton and Kekei Genkai that use it. So most Mokotan will require it. When you master it to the point of needing one seal, usually it will be a Mi seal. Torai seal is used with Suiton and most of Kekei Genkai based on it. Tora is used with Katan and all Kekei Genkai based on it, also half Tora is used to disable it. Ne is connected with the Nara clan. Inu is connected with Futon. Tatsu is connected with Raitun and all dragon types of ninjutsu. But remember that it's not a rule and sometimes Katan can be connected with you, explained Yamato in his teacher mode. So it's sort of guideline? Asked Naruto. Exactly. I want you to go through all 12 seals and work on the speed and accuracy of them. Remember that in a fight you don't have time for thinking about seal shape, and it must be almost instinctive and fast. There are combinations of them that require over 40 in case of single, and in case of combinations I know some that will take over 100 of them, said Yamato and motioned Naruto to go through seals, while watching them closely. They looked alright, But he wasn't doing them fast enough for Yamato taste, but he could work later. After all, he had over 3.5 years of time to turn him into a level shinobi, so he could protect from assassins and kidnappers and be ready to take the mantle of Hokage in the next 3 to 10 years. And for that he needed to have mastered the basics, so they could become a firm foundation for his growth. After all, a tree without roots wouldn't grow, even if it grew it would be destroyed by a stronger gust of wind. Everybody knew that the Hokage position was demanding from the person that assumed it, and even as heir to it, he would be taking some of Hokage duties. Like leading troops, sitting on council, being Hokage guard during Kage Summits and meeting with leaders. So he could make connections with other leaders and commanders of Konoha forces, so he could be respected by troops and other leaders. Not as fast as I would like them to be, but it's quite good for your level. You will be going through them faster while doing so, said Yamato and looked at Naruto next thing. Do you remember from the academy how chakra is built? Spiritual and physical energy? Asked Naruto, and Yamato nodded. Yes. On spiritual energy you will work on your own. On physical energy we will work now, said Yamato with an evil glint visible in his eyes, and Naruto gulped when he saw it. He didn't like it, not at all. Now? Weakly asked Naruto, and Yamato only nodded. Give me 2 laps around the compound, 20 push-ups, sit-ups and squats. Once you are done we will work on your reaction speed and reflex, told him Yamato and disappeared. Naruto grunted, but he did it. He wasn't happy, but he did it, and it took him some time. But also he knew that he needed a strong body for being a shinobi and training was necessary. Good. Quite a good time, praised him Yamato. You will be doing that every day before training with me. In the middle of the day you will do twice as much, and the last one you will do after we finish training for the day. Okay. What about spiritual energy? Asked Naruto. You said that I will work on it on my own. Best way to work on it is to read books, play shogi or other games. There should be some books in your library about it. If I remember correctly, Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara wrote the Art of War book about warfare tactics. How to fight, what you should do and not do. There should also be a lot of books by other authors that are important. Ask Hokage once he will be here what you should read, told him Yamato. What about shogi? Asked Naruto. I will teach you the basics of it, while you may pester Hokage-sama for a game or 2. Actually we may play it now, said Yamato and walked inside the compound. Meanwhile Yumino Iruka was scratching his head hard. He couldn't find Uzumaki Naruto, who should be attending the academy. But he wasn't here and his sensory skills couldn't locate him, which was weird. Since it was lunch break, he decided to go and ask Hokage, who usually knew where Naruto was. He walked into the administrative part of the academy, which was touching the back of Hokage Tower, and allowed free passage between those 2 buildings. Guards that were patrolling it nodded in greeting. After all, teachers and principals were often walking to see Hokage, so they knew most of the guards, who didn't even bother to check them. Hokage-sama. Iruka politely greeted the elder leader of the village. He was known to be a kind and gentle leader, but there was also his other side. One that was hard and that didn't budge, one that earned him the nickname Kami no Shinobi, God of Shinobi. Yumino-san. How can I help you? Hokage asked him. Once he finished reading the document that was on his desk, and he frowned. Do you know where Uzumaki Naruto is? He didn't show up in class during last week and this one as well, quietly asked Iruka. I happen to know. Actually, I was reading a report concerning him. He won't be in the academy until at least the last semester of last year, or maybe he will only appear on the graduation exam, politely replied Hokage. May I know why? Asked Iruka. He unlocked Mokuton, so I assigned him a sensei that has this Kekkei Genkai, and he will teach him all aspects of shinobi arts. The second reason is that I'm getting old, and I need an heir. Since Naruto has the biggest potential from his generation, and one that could be compared to Namikaze's Minato, I decided to choose him as my heir, and I will be overseeing his education personally, said Hokage, and Iruka's face turned from normal to disbelieving. May I know why you think that he has the most talent of this batch? Uchiha Sasuke is the best student, and he has loads of potential. Iruka carefully phrased his questions. I will be honest with you. Sasuke is bright, but he is a pampered prince and his ego is the size of a small village. Also, he is loose cannon. While Naruto is humble and has 2 things that Sasuke never will. Chakra reserves are already high and will rapidly grow, and he is of Kyubi no Yoko. If he manages to form the same bond as Hachibi and be managed to form, he will have a never-ending chakra pool and wisdom well in his gut that can help him," explained Hokage, and Irika's eyes widened. "I see. So what I should tell my class if they will ask questions?" asked Irika. "Tell them that it's S-rank secrets. Also, everything that you heard here is classified. You know the consequences of talking about such secrets," told him Hokage, and Irika only nodded. Hokage was taking many precautions, but that was expected in such a situation. They bid farewell. Irika left the room to have another class, while Hokage went to his library to retrieve scrolls and books for Naruto that will be useful for him. Weekend. Naruto was waiting for Hokage after doing his morning workout, effects of which already started showing on his body. His body started to be covered by lean, hard muscles and his stamina was increasing. But that wasn't the only thing. His chakra control was getting better. He managed to master tree walking, and now most of his clones were working on water walking. In nature manipulation, he managed to successfully learn Doton and Suiton first-level exercises, and now was slowly working on mastering them, but that would take a lot of time. A lot. To master it and proceed to the next level, he needed to soak or crumble the leaf in less than 5 seconds. Currently, he managed to do that in 2 to 1 minute. But that was also the effect of his bad chakra control, and improving chakra control helped with nature manipulation. "Naruto-kun, how are progressing your studies?" asked him Hokage. "GG!" exclaimed happy Naruto, and ran towards him. "Quite good. Tenzo-sensei is mostly working on chakra control and basic chakra manipulation with me. I started learning some Doton and Suiton exercises. I also started reading about my clan style of taijutsu. Nature Fist. Good. Today I want to talk with you about the council and its responsibilities and also clans," said Hiruzen, and walked with Naruto to Hashirama study, which was one of the best places to talk about it. On the walls, excluding maps of the world, were signs of all clans that formed Konoha. Both major and minor, ones that took part in Foundation and ones that joined it later. From oldest to youngest. As you know, there are 12 shinobi clans in Konoha. Senju, Uchiha, Uzumaki and Hyuga are usually called noble clans, because they're the oldest ones. However, excluding titles, there's no difference between them and other ones, which are as follows: Inuzuka, Aburame, Akimichi, Nara, Yamanaka, Hataki, Sarutobi and Kurama. Each clan has a special ability and has a seat on the council. They form half of the village council. The second one is made by civilians that are elected by the general population and serve only a term as councilors, but they can be re-elected. There are also 3 elders, Yudatain Koharu, Mitokado Hamura and Shimura Danzo. They were my teammates in Genin under Senju Tobirama. Last part of the council is Hokage and his heir if he nominates one. Each person has exactly 1 vote, giving a total of 27 without Hokage and 28 or 29 if the Hokage pool is added to the general one," said Hiruzen, while drawing a simple diagram on paper. "But Senju, Uzumaki and Uchiha are almost non-existent," interrupted him Naruto. "Yes. They are, which means that the Shinobi Council is composed of 9 members, instead of the required 12. Which means that it's at a disadvantage, and there are no signs that it will improve in a few years," admitted Hokage in sad voice. "Which means that civilians can pass any law that they like or want," quietly said Naruto, and Hokage only nodded. "They changed the academy a lot. Now to pass you need 3 and that's enough. Kawarimi, Henge and Bunshin, which are possible for almost everybody that can mold chakra, unless they have too much of it," admitted Hokage. "Worst ones were stopped by me and the elders. We disagreed on many subjects, but all of us cared for Konoha, and when we saw what they wanted to do, we firmly said no and blocked all attempts to get it approved. I thought that Hokage was the ruler of the village," said Naruto, and Hiruzen slightly nodded. "I still have a lot of power and I can use it, but I try to ask the council what they think before doing something, and during wars they take over ruling, because Hokage and most clan heads are leading troops at the front line," explained Kage. "Tenzo-sensei said that you're quite good at shogi. Want to play with me?" asked Naruto, and Hokage brow rose. "Looks like he took a page from my own book. I usually play it with Sanin. It is quite good at teaching tactics and strategy," mused Elder Hokage and nodded. Next week. Previous week was hectic for Naruto. Most of the week he was working on chakra control, shuriken and kunai handling, and bojutsu. Although he never suspected to see Monkey as his sensei in arts of bojutsu. He managed to master water and tree walking to point of doing it almost unconsciously. He was able to do that during fights and when doing other things. Yamato decided to introduce him to Kage-level chakra control exercises. Normally he wouldn't learn them, but he had a crazy high amount of chakra and it was necessary for Nature Fist. The taijutsu style of the Senju clan, that use chakra in a similar way to one of Senju Tsunade, is to cause general havoc and destruction with chakra-enhanced punches and kicks. In terms of nature manipulation, he managed to crumble and soak leaf. Now he was working on doing it faster. It took him almost a minute to do it, and before he could proceed to next step, he needed to do that in 5 or less seconds. Next step was most gruesome one, however it was required for most of the B and higher rank water ninjutsu. Water elemental training normally consisted of 3 parts. First one was soaking leaves with water, and it was done by almost all shinobi that tried to learn water. It required a person to focus water chakra in their hands and send it in a steady stream into a leaf. Mastering it required a person to do the whole thing in less than 5 seconds. Second step consisted of shaping water into simple shapes, like cubes, balls and other relatively simple shapes. However, it was required for most that dealt with shape manipulation, and that was one of most common things in water. Third step was hard and required big amounts of chakra and good control of it. If a person wanted to master it, he needed to make a whirlpool in a lake or pool while using only her chakra to spin chakra and sustain it. It was necessary for a rank Suiton, and for most people it was the end of training in Suiton chakra. However, there was also a fourth step that was only completed by the Senju brothers and Uzumaki. The person that was trying to master it was required to create a ball of water using only moisture that was in the air and water from nearby plants and soil. Once all of them were done, a person could master any type of Suiton and safely use any Kekei Genkai that was based on water. On weekends he was learning about politics and diplomacy from Hokage, who showed him and explained various ties between villages. How they were influencing each other without thinking about it. But mostly he focused on Konoha law, customs and council, which was the biggest headache for Kage from the time of Senju Tobirama. During wars it worked well, because shinobi could focus on fighting while civilians were governing the village. But now it gained too much power, and it was trying to overrule Hokage, which happened a few times in the past regarding the future of Naruto. But now, thanks to a dirty trick with the forgotten law about clan heads, if clan heads weren't adults he could choose a proxy. Hokage and Naruto were able to keep civilians from him. Since he technically was clan head they couldn't do much. As a proxy he and Hokage chose Nara Shikaku, one of laziest, but also most trusted Hokage advisors. Naruto clones were sitting around a lake that was in the back of Senju training ground trying to do the second step, while another bunch of them worked on soaking the leaves with water. It was slowly going but they were getting it. Original was with Yamato sensei in one of the dojo that were located inside the compound. "You're getting better," praised Yamato, after they finished spar. "Good reflex, reaction speed and clever usage of every mistake, opening and advantage presented to you. We may move on to more advanced things sooner than I anticipated. But also clones are helping a lot." Talking about clones, the first group that was working on chakra control should be dispelled in a matter of minutes, said Naruto, and Yamato nodded. Clones were allowing him to move much faster with what he planned for 3.5 years of Naruto training. In those 2 weeks he managed to fix most of the flaws and things taught to Naruto by the academy, but also he was able to cover things that he planned for at least 2 months, if not 3. "What about your Doton training?" he asked Naruto, while scratching his chin. "Most are almost done and out of chakra," said Naruto, and Yamato took one of his thinking poses. "I might start introducing him to the elementals. There are few that are easy and rather useful. Also, they will be good training for him in chakra control and deciding how much chakra he needs to push to get the desired effect," thought Yamato, and once he was done his eyes opened, and he looked at Naruto. "Come with me. It's time to start elemental training." Yamato and Naruto turned into yellow balls of energy. He started to be more calm and composed, but his famous Uzumaki temper was as fiery as usual. "Yada! Finally!" he shouted, while running after Yamato, who went to a field that wasn't used by clones, but had streams nearby and lots of space to destroy and nothing precious nearby. Excluding some trees dozens of meters from it, but those could be easily fixed with Mokuton. "Naruto, I have 2 from you. One from Doton and one from Suiton. They're called Doton, Iwatapo no Jutsu, Rock Gun, and Suiton, Teppadama, Gunshot. They're one of those that can be used in multiple situations. First one requires only a monkey hand seal and it looks like this," said Yamato, before calling Doton, Iwatapo no Jutsu and expelling multiple small pieces of rock from his mouth that transformed into huge boulders once they left it. Place where they fell was full of craters and huge chunks of rocks. As you can see, it's pretty powerful. Orochimaru once said that in big enough numbers it could bring down mountains. Said Yamato and looked at Naruto, who was in awe when he saw the effects of this. Try it. Asked him Yamato, and Naruto nodded. He did necessary hand seals, or in this case the whole one. Said Doton, Iwatapo no Jutsu, and expelled multiple chunks of rock that quickly grew in size to quite impressive rocks. They weren't as impressive as ones used by Yamato-sensei, but they were easily as large as a human head. Impressive. All elemental training that is done by your clones is paying off. Now about Suetun, Tepidama, it's exactly the same type of. But instead of expelling stones you spit out balls made out of water. Said Yamato, before shooting 2 small balls of water. Naruto tried it, and for the first try it was impressive. He managed to shoot 4 balls that kept shape and density for most of their flight to target. Nice try. Praised Yamato and looked at the faraway tree, before saying the next thing. You will receive the next one once you manage to master the current one. He wanted him to get strong, but he didn't believe in philosophy that said that the number of learned was the way to go. He believed that good shinobi didn't know thousands of them, but smaller amount of which he was master and could do them without thinking much. But why? I thought that the more known, the better. Pouted Naruto, and Yamato smiled thinly. Well, amount of them doesn't matter until you know how to use them, and well, if you just know, but don't know how to use them, it's useless for you, and learning as much as possible is bad in this case. Better is to have a smaller arsenal, but well known and fully mastered. Explained Yamato, and Naruto explained. Time skip. 2 years later. During the previous 2 years Naruto's growth was astonishing. Thanks to abusing Kage Bunshin he managed to master over 200 Suetun and Doton. Yamato started training him in Katon manipulation, but it was only manipulation of fire. For anything more he needed to wait patiently, but today he was really excited. Finally it was a day when he would learn some Mokuton. Besides that he was getting proficient with the use of sword and bow. He wasn't master of them, but nonetheless he was a dangerous opponent. Especially when using Enna in his bow staff form, which was impossible to destroy and could get larger and longer as needed. Naruto Mokuton is different from most other Kekkei Genkai, because instead of mixing it before channeling it. With Mokuton you channel Doton chakra using one hand and Suetun chakra using the second one, and you mix them when going through hand seals. Explained to him Yamato. Are there any manipulation exercises? Asked Naruto, who silently was hoping to avoid them, because they were grueling and boring, at least for him. No, because Shodai didn't have time or need to write them. However, there are plenty of things that you can learn. Generally Mokuton is quite universal, it can be used to attack or as defense. It's weak against Futon and some of the more powerful Katon ones. Cool, so what will be the first thing that you're gonna teach me? Asked Naruto, excitement visible in his voice. One of the most useful, especially when you want to restrain someone or capture him. Also it's a pretty easy one, because only one seal is needed. It's called Mokuton, Mokusatsu Shibari no Jutsu, and the needed seal is simply snake. Said Yamato, called name of it, and his whole arm transformed into multiple thin branches that wrapped around one of many rocks laying on the training ground after multiple times they fought each other. Looks impressive. Murmured Naruto and looked at Yamato waiting for a signal to do it. Once Yamato nodded, Naruto did the necessary seal, aimed it at his target, and branches shot out of his hand at a medium-sized rock that was a few meters from him. They managed to wrap it around and drag it to Naruto. 2 years later. The week would be the last day of the academy and graduation exam. Since Sarutobi Hiruzen was preparing Naruto to take the mantle of Hokage, he decided to test his judgment. It was an open secret among shinobi clan heads that certain genin were slated to pass, no matter what they did. This year, however, it wasn't desired, because Naruto was going to be added to the pool. Since the position of Hokage, clan head, or even team commander deals with making decisions and baking them up. I have a simple test for you. Here in front of you are resumes of 8 genin and you, that will be formed into 3 elite genin teams. You are missing 1 to form 9. For sensei you can choose any that isn't an ANBU, has over 10 S-rank missions completed, is full, there are no questionable loyalty notes in his jacket. Explained Hokage and placed on table between them 9 genin jackets and 21s, he accidentally took a few with questionable loyalty notes, or 1. To see if Naruto would see underneath and choose proper ones. Okay. Are there any rules regarding team setup? What are customs from previous generations? Because I remember that my father's team, or even yours, weren't balanced. Asked Naruto. There is one rule. From those 3 teams, one must be captured and interrogated, one must be a heavy combat one, and one must be a tracker one," replied Hokage, with a small smile. Naruto wasn't getting caught by simple traps, his training and usage of chakra helped and formed a bond with Kurama even more. He had an infinite well of wisdom in his gut that helped him multiple times, and beating him in shogi was hard. Even for Nara clan members, he played a few times with Naro Shikamaru and he managed to win a few of those, and most of ones with Naro Shikaka ended in draws. Tracker 1? For sure Aburame and Inuzuka. Normally there would be a Hyuga, but considering that she is the only girl that doesn't have a crush on Sasuke, I'm thinking about putting her on a team with Sasuke," murmured Naruto. "I agree with you, but remember that there is also another tracker and frontline fighter, even 2. You and Sasuke," interrupted him Hokage. "I know, but to be honest, wasting Sharingan and Mokuton as a tracker is a little pointless. They're Kekkei Genkai that are suited for the front line, and my tracker abilities are based on Kurama chakra, so using them is risky, because someone may feel them," countered Naruto, and once again looked over all genin. Team 10 will be classic Inoshikacho. There's no point in destroying a formation that worked for ages. It's also a custom that Sarutobi clan members are their sensei. So that only leaves Sarutobi Asuma as their sensei," Naruto said, and scribbled on a piece of paper names and team numbers. So Hokage later could officially write them and give them to. So 3 genin and 1 less. You need to remember that the council will scream to put Sasuke under Kakashi," added Hokage. "I know, Gigi, but team placement is a shinobi matter and they can scream as much as they want. But they won't change anything," countered him Naruto, who already disliked this stupid, fucked up council that cared only about their power and how much money landed in their coffers. "Yes. Point for you," admitted Hokage, who was happy that Naruto was showing talent for politics. "So the tracking team will be Team 8. Inuzuka Kiba, Aburame Shino and Haruno Sakura, and I have a big headache. Either specialist, medic or tracker," said Naruto, and scratched his head for a while until he found the ideal solution, at least in his opinion. "That's not a bad idea. Kiba will kill me if he hears that I helped you with team creation, but what would you say about Inuzuka Hana as Team 8 sensei?" Naruto asked Hokage. But has rather vast knowledge of taijutsu and medical ninjutsu, not to mention general ninjutsu. Also she knows how to keep Kiba on a short leash." "I like it," replied Hokage, and wrote on a piece of paper to promote her to join. After that he looked over the left jackets, and saw only 3 genin and few. So that leaves infamous Team 7. There is custom that members of current Team 7 should be taught by member of previous Team 7. So it will be me, Sasuke and Hinata under Kakashi. But his tardiness will be a problem. I can train on my own or even grab Tenzo from time to time, but Hinata and Sasuke need training badly. I could beat Kakashi if I really wanted to do that," murmured Naruto. "Can you hide most of my abilities, so he can have a taste of his own medicine?" he asked, looking at the Hokage, who smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant smile, it was the smile of a hunter or prankster that found a nice target and had a good idea. "With pleasure," said Hokage, and quickly scribbled something on paper. "I know that you wanted to visit Sum, since she is your godmother. So here you have Hana promotion, if you can give it to her. Give it to her and tell her that she will have an annoying brother on her team. If not, give it to Tsum," added Hokage, and gave a small scroll to Naruto, who nodded and left the room. Naruto, during the 4 years since he started training, changed a lot. Previously completely blue eyes, now had a thin line of green inside of them. His hair was longer, he had the same hairstyle as Yondaime Hokage, so he could not in a subtle way suggest who his father was. His clothes didn't change that much, except that now he wore Nidaime armor on top of his clothes with 2 swords sheathed on his back in cross pattern. He didn't carry a bow staff as a weapon, because he used Enma as his bow staff. In terms of he was a walking monster, he had almost perfect chakra control, and the amount of known was astonishing. He knew around 100 of only Mokuton ones, and those were ones that he knew the least amount of. Overall he knew around 1,000, but he mastered only over 600, but considering his age it was an impressive amount. He was weakest at the department, because of his high amounts of chakra, but he knew some Nidaime Hokage, which required a lot of chakra and not so much control. That doesn't mean he didn't know weaker ones, but they weren't his favorites. In taijutsu he was rather good. He managed to learn and master Nature Fist of Senju clan. It was a style based around using chakra to strengthen blows. It allowed users to punch holes in walls, destroy ground, or simply break bones by only flicking a finger. Officially in his jacket there was nothing about those things. He wanted Kakashi to underestimate him, to think that he was dead last. He wanted to give him a taste of his own medicine and a wrong intelligence report. He quickly made his way outside of Hokage Tower and towards Senju compound, where he picked up a letter from Kasan and headed to Inuzuka compound, which was probably loudest one in the village. If people weren't loud, then dogs were, and that was for most of them weak, and it was the main reason why not many people lived nearby. He left his room through the window and started jumping from tree to tree, slowly going towards Inuzuka compound. When he was near, dogs started barking and looking around for him. He dropped onto the ground in front of the compound gate, and, knowing Inuzuka customs, he walked inside. They were one of those clans that allowed everybody to walk into their compound, as long as they behaved properly and didn't try to steal anything. When he was inside the compound, he was spotted by Kuramaru, dog companion and of Inuzuka, clan head and alpha of pack. "What do you want up here?" asked the wolf. Which freaked out Naruto, but he read about every single clan, their traits, abilities, personalities, favorite attacks, etc. As a gift for his 12th birthday, he received from Hokage custom-made bingo books, with data not only about every single one, but also about famous A rank and above ninja, just in case he ever needed that knowledge. "I'm searching for Sama," said Naruto, while trying not to anger the wolf in front of him. It was slowly circling him and sniffing him. "I like you? Come with," replied Wolf, and walked towards one of doors, while happily wiggling his fluffy tail, which happened rarely unless he was with family or people that he considered trustworthy. When they entered the main room of the compound, they found a middle-aged woman with brown spiky hair, Inuzuka clan markings, and a vest on top of her clothes. She wore loose brown pants, a loose brown shirt, and a jounin vest on top of them. "Kuramaru, who's that?" asked woman. "Someone that's searching for you," replied the wolf, and motioned for Naruto to move forward. Naruto nodded and gave some 2 scrolls, one from Hokage and the second one was his mother's letter. She first opened a letter from Kushina, and when she saw the content of it her eyes widened a little. "I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you. But the civilian council blocked all our attempts to help you or adopt you, without revealing your heritage, and that was the most stupid thing that we could do," quietly said Sim. "I don't hold any grudge towards you. I would have visited you earlier, but I simply didn't have time and pretext to be near the Inuzuka compound," replied Naruto, and at the same time Kiba walked into the room. Naruto slowly turned around and looked at Kiba. "How much did you hear?" he growled. "What are you talking about? I just walked into the room and I don't need to answer your questions," snarled Kiba and looked at Naruto, challenging him. "But you need to answer my questions, and I would also like to hear answers to that question," snapped at him Sim, and he got calmer almost instantly. "Almost your whole talk," admitted Kiba, and was scared by the looks on the faces of his mother and strangers that sounded, smelled, and looked somewhat familiar. He couldn't place it in one spot, but he knew he had met it before. There was a faint smell of foxes, wood, weapon and armor oil, and the dominant smell of water and earth. "Kuramaru explained to him privacy and got me Hana here," said an angry Tsum, and dragged him back here later. "I think it's time for some explanations. Don't you think, Naruto?" Tsum and Kiba's eyes widened, because he now remembered where he saw that person. It was Naruto, who he had met during their first year of academy, after which Naruto disappeared. Naruto nodded, and Kuramaru dragged Kiba with him and called Hana. "What he did this time?" asked Hana once he entered the room. "Heard something not for his ears. But that can wait. Now I have something for you. Even 2 things," said Tsum, and gave Hana scrolls. She opened the first one and read. Once she was done her eyes widened, a lot in fact. She was promoted to. "Not so fast. Second scroll is more amusing than the first one," interrupted her Naruto. She read it. Her eyes widened yet again, and she started laughing when she read the content of it. "I like it. Kiba will hate me, but I like it," she said, and noticed an evil glint in Naruto's eye. "What's so funny?" "One of them is a fangirl of gigantic proportions. Be at the academy during the graduation exam, and you will see," explained Naruto, and she growled. She had a similar approach to fangirls as certain Senju, which meant that they were in for loads of pain and suffering in the next few weeks. "I think it's time for some explanations. Can you fetch Kiba?" asked Tsum. Hana only nodded and left to retrieve what was left of him from Kuramaru, who didn't like eavesdropping. Once she left, Tsum looked at Naruto. "How much I can tell them? I don't trust Kiba as much as Hana, and she will get access to the whole truth as she will get clearance for S-rank secrets. So tell Hana the whole story. while Kiba may be only my heritage and that's all. I'm strong enough to defend from enemies, so it doesn't really matter if people know about my father," replied Naruto, and the Inuzuka clan matriarch nodded. It made sense. After all, from what she heard, he was seen numerous times with few. It took Hana a few minutes to get back with Kiba, who looked like he met an angry chainsaw that damaged him. After them happily walked Kuramaru, on whose teeth and claws was visible some blood. "So Kiba, what can you tell me about Naruto's parents?" asked Sam, curious if he knew something. "He was an orphan and didn't have any living relatives," carefully said Kiba. "That's official story. Hana, can you fill blanks for him?" Sam asked his older sister. "You saw those two in our compound pretty often, before they died in the Kyuubi attack. He smells a lot like Uzumaki Kushina. That faint scent of foxes, masked by water. On the other hand, he also smells like earth and peaceful wind. Only Namake's Minato had this particular smell. You said they were in our compound pretty often. So that means only Yondaime Hokage and his wife Uzumaki Kushina," slowly said Hana, thinking before saying each words. "You're correct. Naruto is the son of Namake's Minato and Uzumaki Kushina, but it was hidden so he could have a relatively safe childhood. But there is also a second part of it. Naruto, can you drop your henge?" Some explained and looked at Naruto, who nodded. Once it was done, there was a thin green ring inside of cerulean blue of his irises, 3 marks that he inherited from Nidaime, and Byakugan's seal on his forehead, right below one of Nidaime's marks. "Why did you hide those features?" asked him Kiba. "Because those marks are only passed to descendants of Nidaime, and that thin green ring in my irises means that I have certain Kekkai Genkai. One that's sacred to us, and one of most wanted in whole world. Mokutan and I really didn't want any more people after me. That seal on my forehead is rather famous. It's same one as one used by Senju Tsunade. It gives person inhuman strength and powerful chakra battery," explained Naruto. "Hana, you should tell Kiba who will be his sensei." "Nah. I will let him find it on his own," replied Hana, slightly chuckling. Naruto bid farewell and left the Inuzuka compound and ran towards his compound, which wasn't far away, just a few blocks away. He needed to prepare for tomorrow's graduation exam. No matter what he would do, he would be dead last, because of attendance, and Hokage couldn't do much about it. However, he was shocked, because once he entered the room he saw Hokage and Naruto Shikaku sitting there and waiting for him, with serious expression on their faces. "Kage Summit is in 3 days' time, and I'm asked to bring 2 bodyguards." Quietly, Hokage and Naruto's eyes widened. He had a chance to be present during one of the most important meetings. "I want you and Nara Shikaku to accompany me to it." "It would be an honor," mumbled Naruto and slightly bowed. "Nah. It's nothing. After all, if one day you want to take this mantle from my hands, it's as good a time as any to show you true international diplomacy. How it's played and how it looks," said Hokage, and Naruto nodded. "Of course, Hokage-sama. So what I can expect?" asked Naruto. "Prepare for cold and snow. We're going to Tetsu no Kuni. Rest is in those scrolls laying on your desk," answered Naruto Shikaku, and Naruto nodded and picked up scrolls. While he was doing that, other people left the room and attended to their business. To be continued. The Kage Summit starts and the situation in Konoha isn't as calm as it looks. Next day Naruto Shikaku and Hokage left the village and traveled towards Tetsu no Kuni, which was a neutral meeting ground for all Kage, since it wasn't even a shinobi nation. Instead, it was a samurai one, and they had great craftsmen. However, the weather was harsh, it almost constantly snowed, and the wind was relentless. People entering the country usually wore thick, fur-padded cloaks that could provide some warmth and protect from the freezing temperatures of this climate. Naruto was named Hokage heir, but his official coronation would happen before the start of the 3rd phase of the exam. Symbol of him being named Hokage's successor was white haori with a red flame-like pattern at the bottom of it, and kanji for fire in the middle of it. He wore it over his normal armor. He also didn't need to wear Konoha 8, but he chose to do so. After all, he might lose his haori, and then without his 8, he would be treated as. So on his face he had the old hapuri of Nidaime Hokage, which was covered in seals that strengthened it and made it harder to destroy. Even when he was wearing it, Leaf was painted red to distinguish him from normal shinobi. We have arrived. Sanro Mountain is in front of us. The summit takes place right behind it, in the castle of Shogun, which is Mifune, one of the oldest leaders and one that managed to fight me to stand still. I hope that Inoki won't be too curious about your heritage. I shouldn't recognize those features, while Raza and Terumi may will most likely see through them, yet they will confront you in private," said Hokage, while they were walking through snow that was covering everything in this country. "What should I tell them?" quietly asked Naruto. "Truthfully, they're good at detecting lies and it won't do anything good," Shikaku answered. "You need to gain their trust and form a working relationship with them, so lies won't help you with that." When they approached the castle, they were greeted by 11 samurai, 10 normal ones, and their commander. They exchanged usual pleasantries and allowed them to pass and guarded them on their way to the summit area. "Something is wrong. Security is tight. Normally they have only one team," quietly whispered Shikaku, and Naruto nodded. "I saw that too. They're tense and ready to break at moment notice. Also, they have emotions that can be best described as focused and kept under control," whispered back Naruto, while slightly moving swords that were on his back, just in case he would need to take them out quickly. While almost impossible to spot, Hokage and Shikaku noticed this and made similar moves on their own. Sarutobi summoned his companion before entering Tetsu no Kuni, so he could be ready at a moment's notice, and now it moved almost on its own into Hokage's hands, while Shikaku moved the sword that was on his back in a similar manner to what Naruto did. "Welcome, Hokage-dano," politely said an older man in samurai armor, who emerged from the stronghold which appeared in front of them. It was a truly monstrous castle perched on top of a great mountain and placed inside a valley that had only one easy road, through a long and narrow canyon. Other roads were harder to pass and way more dangerous, and could be easily blocked by one well-placed or even a few explosive notes. "Welcome, Mifune-dano. I guess we're the last ones?" politely replied to Hokage and shifted into a more friendly position. "Yes. We were just waiting for you to start the meeting," said Mifune, and guided the Hokage group into his fortress and later into the room where the summit would take place. It was a vast oval room with a big round table set in the middle of it, with a seat for every Kage and respective banner behind them. 4 out of 5 seats were taken by respective Kage with their bodyguards or advisors, standing slightly behind them. "Welcome," murmured Hokage once he entered the room and was noticed by another Kage, who slightly bowed their heads in greeting. "I hope that your trip was pleasant, Hokage-dano," started pleasantries Raza, Yandame Kazekage from Sunagakure. "Yes. We didn't have any problems," replied Hokage and looked over the faces of fellow Kage. "Looks like they spotted Naruto and guessed his parents. Might as well drop this bomb," he thought, when he noticed expressions on fellow Kage faces. Most of them looked like they couldn't believe their own eyes. "Good. Who is that guard behind your back, Hokage-dano? He looks surprisingly young to be on such a summit, and he is almost an ideal mix of Senju Tobirama and Namikaze Minato features," asked Inoki Sandame Tsuchikage, known as Inoki of both scales or as Old Fence-sitter and Soul Wielder of Keki Itoda, Jintan. "My future heir and successor Senju Naruto," calmly replied Hokage, and other Kage were shocked. "Isn't he too young?" asked Terumi-Mei. "Also, isn't he a son of late Yandame Hokage?" "I don't know what you are talking about. He has no relation whatsoever to Yandame Hokage, and he isn't too young. I was named Hokage when I was his age." Responding to Hokage, and instead of making them drop the subject, fellow Kage looked like they wanted to still press him for answers about Naruto. "Can we get down to business?" "Of course, Hokage-dano. I called this summit because of Konoha actions. I accuse you of kidnapping attempts and murder of my shinobi. Every single attacker had blank A and BU mask with kanji for root at the top and Konoha leaf. I want to be responsible for this punishment, and 30 million ryo," said Mizukage, and Hokage features hardened. Danzo was playing dangerous game, and was going to pay price for his stupidity. "I'm not responsible for those shinobi. They will be punished, but I won't pay 30 millions. Be careful with your demands," carefully said Hokage, and looked at other Kage. Kazekage would support him, but Reikage and Tsuchikage might support Mizukage, if they just enjoy a good show. Konoha was stronger than Kiri, and Wasauna and other allies could win war against the other 3 villages, but there was no point in all-out war. Especially the 4th Great Shinobi World War. The 3rd was only 15 years ago, and nobody wanted another one. Last one destroyed a few countries and caused a great amount of damage to even major villages. I want some recompensation for those attempts. Even if you weren't responsible for giving them orders, they're still Konoha shinobi. So you take responsibility for their actions," told him Mizukage. "Then give us back that Byakugan, cleverly hidden behind the eye patch on the left eye worn by Aoi," responded Hokage, and Mizukage's eyes widened. He knew everything about her bodyguards. "You know that Hyuga will be angry if I mention that you have Byakugan. So I suggest we drop this pointless discussion," What about that we end this discussion? Konoha will give Kiri all responsibility for those assaults, while Kiri will drop this topic," suggested Kazekage. "I agree," replied Hokage, and Inuzuka nodded. "I don't like it, but it's the best idea." That was the end of negotiations for the current session. It was one of more heated ones. "It went quite well, and for your first summit you did well. Next session will be more dangerous. We will drop our bomb," said Hokage. "What do you expect?" asked Naruto. "It's hard to predict. Kazekage knows Mizukage just got punched in her face by us. Tsuchikage will win the lottery, Reikage will," replied Shikaku, and Hokage nodded. After all, he was a genius with brilliant analytical skills. So his analysis were usually correct, and if they were wrong it meant that they were expecting a big fuck-up. After our break, Kage and their bodyguards were once again in the room. Moods were better, people calmed down and were ready for next round of meetings. One that would be the most exhausting and probably the most volatile one. After all, bijou was kind of taboo in international relations. Everybody knew that their enemy had one or two, but didn't know anything about their strength. My intelligence network gathered data that suggests that a certain mercenary organization called Akatsuki tries to collect them all, and they will make their move in around a year's time. So I suggest that all Kage and their respective teams will meet in 9 months' time during exam finals that will be held in Konoha. Started Hokage and was interrupted by a Yandame Reikage. "No! Never!" he shouted and smashed table in front of him, causing all guards to go into battle mode. Weapons were drawn, started, and the staring contest began. Everybody was waiting for someone else to move. Shikaku, Naruto, stand down, ordered Hokage, and his bodyguards reluctantly nodded and lowered their weapons. Although they still were wary, they weren't as hostile as moments before. After that, other guards retreated to their spots behind their Kage back. Although Konoha and Kiri don't see eye to eye on many topics, on this one we agree. I will be present along with our Yagura, who was under the influence when he started bloodline purges. And it was a shinobi group from Konoha that helped to free him from influence. I suggest that all of you agree to that proposition, especially Tsuchikage and Reikage," said beautiful Mizukage to Remime. She was called the most beautiful woman of Mizu no Kuni. "I don't like Konoha and their Hokage, but in this case he is speaking wise words. We had a few attempts to kidnap us in the last few months. I will be there, but only if other Kage will arrive too," said Tsuchikage, and his words convinced the rest of the gathered Kage to agree to the Hokage idea. "Thank you. I hope that we will meet in better times when we will be in Konoha, and that you will enjoy exams that will take part during the Kage Summit, to be exact the last stage of it. More details will be sent to you a month before the summit date," replied Hokage, and every other leader nodded. It sounded reasonable, and before it there were 9 months, in which everything could easily change. They bid farewells and decided to travel to Konoha as fast as possible. Some news was troubling. The shinobi Mizukage described looks like root. I thought that Danzo disbanded it, soon after the Uchiha massacre on my order. They tried to collect Sharingan from bodies of deceased Uchiha, and my ANBU were forced to interrupt them," murmured Hokage. "It will be so troublesome. Council will be making a lot of noise about it, especially when they will hear exact details of our agreement with Mizukage. But under those circumstances it was the best possible one. She wouldn't budge too much. That will be a small problem compared to one when civilians will hear that Naruto, you were given 8. They still dislike you and try to do everything to block your career, and when they hear about your power they will want you to teach Uchiha-sama all your," said Shikaku, and Naruto nodded. He already had a few nasty clashes with the civilian council. While Shinobi didn't have Uchiha in high regard, because of his stuck-up attitude and arrogance, civilians pampered him and gave him everything he wanted. "I won't give that team any of my, and in most cases I'm using shortened chains of seals, which means that Sharingan won't copy it," replied Naruto. "I wonder if someone will ask me to give him my." Knowing their stupidity, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the brighter people on the council asked you to do that, replied Hokage, and added in a more happier voice, "Council will be my problem. You focus on training and your team." "I know, but that team on my team will be a huge problem. At least I have Kakashi as my sensei, and he may be able to help with one of my fathers. And could you get Jiraiya to the village so he could give me Toad's summoning contract? I need that so I can finally use Bijudama and other more powerful abilities or fully merge with Kyuubi Chakra. Toads have Ki to seal, and without we can't go much further than Rasengan or simple Chakra Cloak," said Naruto, and Hokage thought for a while. "Jiraiya is hard to get, you could use one of the monkeys to find him, but anyways I will send him to be here around exams. Maybe even in 3 months' time for a few days, answered Hokage, and Naruto nodded. After that little exchange, they continued their journey towards Konoha, where they were greeted by an angry civilian council and their pupil Sasuke. Why did you choose him as your bodyguard? Not Uchiha-sama? Asked a rather fat merchant, and gulped visibly after he saw the expression on Hokage's face. It wasn't the kind and gentle face that Hiruzen usually wore. It was one that caused fear to appear in the hearts of his enemies. Koga-san. I can choose whoever I want, and who is worthy enough, and since I thought that Naruto was worthy enough, I chose him. If Sasuke was as strong as Naruto is right now, he would go, but since he has only a big ego, he wasn't chosen. While Naruto is the rising star of this generation, calmly replied Hokage, and the council took a few steps backwards. After all, an angry Kage wasn't a very good person to insult. Fine. I challenge Naruto to fight. Suddenly Sasuke said and took a few steps forward. Here and now. If you really wish to get your ass kicked, it's fine with me, said Naruto, and gave Hokage his Haori. After that he did a few quick hand seals, and before Sasuke could ever blink, he was trapped by branches of a tree that grew behind him. What did you do to him? Nobody wields Mokuton, shouted Harino Mabuki. Nobody? I think that I just saw Naruto using it, said Sarutobi Asuma, who watched this concoction on the street below and decided to jump down once Sasuke was trapped. Sasuke, next time be careful with choosing your opponents. They won't be as forgiving as Naruto. I can still fight. Only Uchiha can defeat Uchiha, shouted Sasuke. Are you sure? Asked Naruto, and switched the seal from snake to tiger, which caused multiple spikes to grow on branches that were trapping Sasuke. Once it was done, there was some blood flowing through branches. What did you do to him? Demon child, spat at Naruto other councilman. He still thought that he could fight, so I showed him that he was defenseless, replied Naruto, and once again changed seal to snake, causing those spikes to retract. Release him, ordered Hokage, and Naruto nodded and cancelled. When he did that, all over Sasuke's torso and lower body were visible many small holes, a sign of a previous trap. Most of them were bleeding, a lot in fact. I think that he learned his lesson. I suggest that you get those wounds patched in the hospital, said Naruto, took his Haori from Hokage and left for the Senju compound. He needed a really fast shower, or even a long bath, and time to relax before tomorrow at the academy, which could be very interesting, because of Sasuke and his fangirls. Probably by now rumors about Sasuke getting beaten by Senju were flying all over Konoha. So tomorrow his fangirls will try to beat him and avenge their precious Sasuke-kun. On the next day, when Naruto entered the academy classroom, he was first to arrive. Today he decided to carry Monkey King Enma, just in case he would need to punch a few heads, or break a few bones, and everything looked like it was going to happen. He made his way to a spot near the window in the far right corner of the room, where he placed his staff in front of him and left swords on his back. First person to arrive after him was Nara Shikamaru, son of Nara Shikaku and one of Lazy Nara, or more correctly one that used to be. After one beating at the hands of Naruto, he managed to start training more, just not to get embarrassed so much, but also to make his mother shut up and stop bothering him. Naruto, how was it on the 5 Kage Summit? He asked quite loudly, so he could annoy people that would be soon entering the classroom. Boring, very boring. Few bandits tried to attack us on our way to it, and during the summit Raikage tried to threaten us and only got caught in simple Kage main. I didn't even need to use any of them, said Naruto once a few people entered the classroom. Just to mess with them, and their jaws hit the floor when they heard that Naruto thinks that Kage Summit is boring. Why does Sasuke look like he was turned into a pincushion? Asked Shikamaru, once he saw Sasuke with multiple bandages covering his body. He challenged me, and that's the effect of it. I used one and it was over. And I need to deal with him until I become or get assigned solo missions or one with ANBU, replied Naruto, and received murderous glares from Sasuke fangirls. Sakura, who was sitting in the row below, rose from her chair and tried to punch him, only to be sent into the opposite wall by finger flick. Other fangirls decided not to do anything. After all, if he had the famous inhuman strength of Senju, he could have other things in store for them. I know that you are strong, but that's an overkill, huge one, said pale Shikamaru. He was on the receiving end of this strength a few times and didn't enjoy it. Not at all. Meanwhile, in the Kage office, Jonins were enjoying themselves. They were watching the Hokage classroom, so they could see the reactions of students, and so far it was interesting. Naruto looks interesting, He just basically punched Sakura into the wall by using a single finger. Do you know how much chakra he has? Murmured Inuzuka Hana, but considering who she is, I'm not surprised that she tried to attack him in the first place. Probably the same amount as me or more. After all, he is Senju and Uzumaki and can abuse Kage Bunshin. More frightening is his chakra control. He has his clan famous control, along with strength, said Hokage, and eyes widened. So that's why he was chosen as your heir. Considering the amount of clones he can make, he can learn years upon years of things in a matter of months, said wide-eyed Asuma. What? He was chosen instead of Uchiha? I thought that Uchiha was the best shinobi of this generation, said Ebisu. Even my son can beat Uchiha, if he really tries to do that, and Naruto can easily defeat most Chunins, and even some. So don't badmouth him. After all, there was a reason why he was on Kage Summit, replied Shikaku, sending glares towards Ebisu, who flinched and bowed his head in apology. After all, Nara Shikaku was commander, and angering him could end really badly for the unfortunate. Going back to class in the academy, people were slowly filling in all the places, and 5 minutes before it was time for the beginning of a lesson, everybody was present. Mostly to see this rumored Senju heir that embarrassed the last loyal Uchiha. Shikamaru, what do you think about Sasuke? For me, he looks like a loose cannon, quietly whispered Naruto to Nara sitting to his right. He might desert, and his arrogance will get him killed. Only 2 people that can be arrogant, and are in this room, are me and you. We have the ability to back our claims, replied Shikamaru, and Naruto slightly nodded. When they finished their talk, the doors to the class opened and entered Yumino Irika, followed by 9 that were going to be their sensei. Good morning, class. I can say that I had the pleasure of teaching you for the past 4 years, and I hope that you will keep improving at such speed during the rest of your ninja career. Those standing behind me are going to be your sensei, till you are, announced Irika, and waited for murmuring to finish before continuing. Now I will read team placements. They're set and can't be changed. Team 1. Team 7 is under Hatake Kakashi and is composed of Senju Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, Hyuga Hinata. Team 8 is under Inuzuka Hana and is composed of Inuzuka Kiba, Aburame Shino, and Hareno Sakura. Team 9 is still in circulation, and Team 10 is under Sarutobi Asuma and is composed of Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Chuji, and Yamanaka Ino. Once he finished, there was some muttering, and once it was gone, Sensei one by one took their teams to different spots for a meeting. Team 7, meet me on the roof of the academy, said Kakashi before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Naruto disappeared in a swirl of leaves and left his stunned teammates. How did you get here so fast? Asked a stunned Kakashi, when he saw Naruto in front of him, with 2 swords on his back and bow staff in hand. Same way as you did? Calmly replied to Naruto, and took a seat on a bench under a tree and started reading a scroll on Nidaime, called Kuchios, Edo Tensei, that allowed a person to summon dead people. However, only the first part of the scroll was focused on it. The second one was focused on how to defeat it and counter it if you were forced to fight an army of zombies. Nidaime was a great Hokage and creator, but some of them are just creepy, murmured Naruto, and Kakashi looked at him. What do you mean by that? Asked Cyclops. That some of them are so evil or dark that they should never be invented. For example, Edo Tensei. On the other hand, Kage Bunshin is a brilliant idea. It helps so much with training that it's almost hard to believe, explained Naruto, and before Kakashi managed to comment on it, the rest of the team appeared. Good that all of us are here, he said with his classic eye smile. Let's first introduce ourselves. You start, Hinata, he added, while pointing at Sakura. Maybe you could start with Sensei, so we know what you expect, replied Hinata. Fine. My name is Hatake Kakashi and I have many likes, not so many dislikes, and few hobbies and dreams, said Silver-Haired. I guess I will need to tell you something more about him, said Naruto before taking our small black book. Hatake Kakashi, known as Copycat Kakashi, Sharingan no Kakashi, son of Konoha White-Fanged Hatake Tsukumo. One genin team was under my father Yondaime Hokage. His teammates were Uchiha Obito, who gave him his Sharingan before he died during one of their missions. His second teammate was Noira Rin, killed by him during the Third Great War. He dislikes traitors and those that leave comrades behind, likes dogs and Ika Paradise. Dreams about being Hokage and to avenge his sensei, who died after sealing Kyuubi. His hobbies are reading, taking care of his dogs, and training. Mission record: 50 D rank, 300 C rank, 253 B rank, 450 A rank, and 152 S rank. He read from it, and once he was done, Sasuke's eyes were wide open and Hinata was shocked. Pretty good bingo book. If you're a smart ass, you're the next Blondie, said Kakashi and looked at Naruto, watching him closely, trying to find signs that suggested that he was the son of Yondaime. Fine. My name is Senju Naruto. I like training, reading in forests dislike those that leave traitors behind. My hobbies are training and reading. My dream is to surpass my father and to become a Hokage. Quietly, Naruto and Kakashi nodded. All pieces of his mental puzzle fitted perfectly. Your father? Asked Sasuke. Your clanless Baka and dead last. Are all people in Konoha blind? My father is on this monument, said Naruto, pointed at Hokage Rock, and Kakashi only nodded. No way that you're Yondaime's son, replied Sasuke, and Naruto shook his head. He was so blind to the obvious truth. I'm his son, said Naruto and looked at Kakashi, who slowly nodded. Alright, you're the next Blackie, said Kakashi and pointed at Sasuke, who scoffed and looked at him. My name is Uchiha. Uchiha Sasuke. I have few likes and dislikes. My hobby is training and my dream is to kill certain person and rebuild my clan, he said and stared blankly into the wall. Avenger and loose cannon. Hokage was right, he might be a flight risk, thought Naruto, and Kakashi thought they were running along similar tracks. Okay, last but not least Hinata, said Kakashi and pointed at Hinata, who weakly nodded. My name is Hyuga Hinata. I like training and my family. I dislike traitors and people that believe in fate. My hobbies are gardening and reading. My dream is to be a good clan head of Hyuga, she weakly said, but managed not to stutter. Okay. Tomorrow Team 7 will be officially started. Be at Training Ground 0 around 7 in the morning. You're dismissed. Naruto, stay for a moment, announced Kakashi. What do you want, sensei, or should I say Anai-san? Asked Naruto, and took out Hiraishin kunai, causing Kakashi's eyes to go wide. Nothing much, I just want to say I'm sorry, and if you need help with Rasengan or Hiraishin, you can ask me. Quietly, Kakashi and Naruto nodded. Thanks, sensei. I will appreciate your help, but now I need to start learning taming, replied Naruto and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. On the next day, two people were standing before a giant gate and were wondering how to get inside. It was locked with a lock that scanned their shinobi ID cards and they were rejected. However, they were shocked when they saw Naruto walking to lock and opening doors. How did you do that, Dobe? Asked him Sasuke. Special permission from Hokage and normal access to this field. Come in, he said before letting them pass and following inside. When they walked through the gate, they saw a large meadow with few small lakes around and a stream that was starting in the forest in the northern part of the field. In the middle of the grass field there were 3 wooden stumps and Kakashi was leaning against the middle one. Good that you're here. You will fight a series of 1 versus 1 fights against me, so I can see your strengths and weaknesses. First is Naruto, next will be Sasuke, and last is Hinata, said Kakashi, and everybody nodded. Wait, everybody? No, Sasuke disagreed. I'm Uchiha, an elite. You should fight me first, he shouted at Kakashi, who disappeared in blur, appeared in front of Sasuke, caught his right arm, broke it, and followed by breaking his wrist. After that he grabbed his head by the hairs and placed kunai on his jugular. Did you say something? He asked, and Sasuke lightly shook his head. Good. While you're nothing. You follow my orders, you don't question them. When I say jump, you jump. He hissed and drew a little amount of blood with his kunai. As I suspected, he thinks that he is the reincarnation of Kami on Earth, and he needs to be shown his place. This might be a wake-up call or not. Probably if Naruto will trash him it will be enough, mused Kakashi, and once he finished, he lightly shook his head and walked onto the middle of the clearing and looked at Naruto, who nodded. They fell into opening stances of their fighting styles, in Naruto case Nature Fist, while in Kakashi modified version of Yondaime Hummingbird Fist. While Nature Fist was based on powerful and fast blows, Hummingbird was focused on counters, fast jabs and agility. Being faster than the enemy was crucial for its effectiveness. Naruto took off and charged at Kakashi, who tried to block the first few hits, but after feeling the strength of them, he decided to dodge or deflect them. Blocking them was almost a suicide for person that tried it. He hits almost as hard as Guy, and that's without chakra enhancements, thought Kakashi, when he was thinking how he could get past Naruto defense, without using Sharingan. He was shocked that such a thought appeared in his mind, but he was considering using Sharingan against Genin. He was getting soft. Way too soft, as a matter of fact. They fought in taijutsu for a few more minutes, before jumping towards opposite ends of the training ground and looking at their opponents. I can either go for using Mokotan or limit it to normal affinities. I think normal affinities are better choice, thought Naruto, and started going through hand seals, for that wasn't really strong. But it was annoying as hell and could be used as a base for Suiton ninjutsu. Doton, Yomi Numa, swamp of the underworld, shouted Naruto and slammed his palms onto the ground. After he did that, the whole clearing turned into a muddy, sticky swamp that limited the range of movements for every person and forced them to use water walking or stay away from it. How the hell do you manage to do that? It requires a lot of chakra and most genin can't execute it, asked him Kakashi, just to annoy Sasuke. Hell, even most can't do it. Suiton chakra and I have one of biggest reserves in whole village, answered Naruto before going through another chain of hand seals. When he was done he shouted Suiton, Suigaten, water fang bullet, and from the swamp rose a few fang-shaped tendrils of water that charged at Kakashi, forcing him to withdraw and stay away from water and swamp. Who are you, Naruto? Asked Kakashi, while dodging fangs that were chasing. I'm a little, humble genin, replied Naruto and started focusing chakra in his hand, which quickly formed a small blue, hand-sized ball. But he didn't stop there, he started adding violet chakra to it, causing it to change color to dark violet. When Kakashi saw this his eye widened. Rasengan with chakra? He quietly asked. Yes, since I can't make Bijudama I use this. Same effects, just smaller scale and less volatile, replied Naruto, before charging towards Kakashi. Rasengan! Shouted Naruto before slamming it into place where Kakashi was, who managed to escape with a quick kawarimi. When it connected with the surface of the poor log it started destabilizing, and when it grinded a small hole in it, it blew up, changing log into splinters and toothpicks. Assassination on sensei? Asked annoyed Kakashi. You told us to come with intent to kill, replied Naruto, and he was forced to jump out of the way, because a blade made out of lighting was coming his way, aiming to kill him, not just wound. After all, a hit to the heart would be fatal, or in most cases it would. Kiri shouted Kakashi, before trying to skewer Naruto, who dodged it. By hair length, but dodged it. Maybe we should stop fooling around and go for large-scale attacks? Suggested Naruto once they finished the current round of combat. I agree, nodded Kakashi, and they jumped away, Naruto towards trees, while Kakashi stood in the open. Katan, Hausenka no Jutsu, shouted Naruto, once he was done and multiple flower-shaped fireballs left his mouth and rained down onto Kakashi position, who just looked bored and responded with his own. Suiton, Sujin Hiki shouted, and in front of him rose a protective wall of water. It quenched fireballs and prevented them from hitting Kakashi, who used this water for another. Suiton, Suryuden, he shouted. After going through a chain of seals, water rose from swamp and wall and formed a giant dragon behind Kakashi, who sent it towards Naruto, who made single clone, and both of them started going through chain of seals. Doton, Doryuden shouted originally, soon followed by a clone, which shouted Katan. Karyuden combined, and balls spewed out by earth dragons were set on fire by fire. Both struggled for dominance, and Earth won. It was strong against water and was supported by a second dragon. Twin dragons attack Sandaime Hokage? Nice, murmured Kakashi once he jumped out of the projectile's path. Yes. One of the best combos and rather easy to make, nodded Naruto, and started going through another chain of seals. Kuchio's no jutsu was heard, and there was a large plume of smoke. When it was gone, in front of Naruto was a large ape with Konoha 8. Henge Kongoni I ordered Naruto, and Enma nodded and changed into his second form. Now what? Shouted Kakashi, while he dodged Bo's strike that shattered the tree behind him, and quickly spun around it and brought kunai to block it. He grabbed it and used it as a lever to send Naruto flying. When Naruto was in the air, he managed to get close and sent a few powerful punches that sent Naruto flying towards the ground, without air in his lungs. When they landed on the ground, Kakashi grabbed Naruto before he could crash onto hard, unforgiving earth, and gently placed him onto grass on one of the edges of the field. After all, after such strikes he would need time to get up. As I suspected, this clanless dobe lost against you, sneered Sasuke, while looking at Kakashi, with pain visible on his face. After all, broken bones caused a lot of it. He is way ahead of you. He easily executed collaboration, which requires level reserves, but before that he turned the whole field into swamp, used one of Yondaime Hokage, No's summoning contract, and few other things. If for you he is done, I can only suspect who is genius for you. Snapped at him Kakashi. Dobe teach me your. Shouted at Naruto Sasuke, once Naruto was awake. Never. Most of them require a lot of chakra or fine control. Not to mention that most are personal creations of Hokage, Sannin or previous Hokage. I may teach you one or two if you change your altitude, said Naruto, and Kakashi nodded. Since Sasuke is out, next is Hinata, said Kakashi, and Hinata nodded and walked towards the middle of the now fry clearing. Naruto cancelled the that created this swamp and they could safely walk over it. Hinata fell into the opening stance of gentle fist, but Kakashi and Naruto saw that it wasn't the best style for her. It was built for high and strong people. She was more of an agile and fast fighter. More like Uchiha or Yondaime Hokage, she just didn't have body build for Juken. She tried to attack Kakashi, who slightly deflected her strikes, just so they could miss him, and slightly attacked, just to check her defense, and she tried to counter his strikes. But couldn't do that, no matter what she did. That's enough, I saw enough, said Kakashi. You're just not built for Juken, at least the stock version of it. You're more of a fast and agile fighter, not someone who will stay in place and block all attacks. I agree with you. Hinata would be better when she would try using some moves from Hummingbird Fist developed by my Two-san, added Naruto. Yes. I will talk with Hayashi-sama about your training, said Kakashi, when he noticed fear visible on Hinata's face. Now about training. We will meet here at 7 in the morning. Until lunch we will do teamwork exercises and general training. From lunch to 3 in the afternoon it will be time for missions, and after that till 7 in the evening individual training. Naruto, about your Kekkai Genkai. You can use that training ground and I will talk with Tora, if he will have time. After those words everybody nodded. It was a reasonable training schedule. Why is he getting personal training in Kekkai Genkai, while I won't get it? Asked angry Sasuke. Because his Kekkai Genkai is active, your Sharingan is not. That's simple, and Naruto isn't using it, because there was no need for him to use it in this fight. It's designed for heavyweight enemies, you will see it around the exam. Kakashi violently dressed down Sasuke, who simply nodded, too shocked to say anything. That was the end of training for Team 7 for today, and tomorrow was going to be a fateful day. One that could break it apart, or forge it into something new and tightly knitted. Announcement time. Sharingan Siblings chapter will be posted around the first weekend of April. I'm polishing a chapter and writing the next one. Spoiler alert, war is coming. When Naruto returned to Senju compound he was summoned to a council meeting, without any given reason. He picked it up and read. As I thought, Sasuke came to the civilian council. It will be an amusing, very amusing meeting, he mused. He dressed in his formal armor and put on his Haori, but before bothering to check the council chamber he went to the Hokage office. Gigi, can you explain what the council wants from me? Quietly asked Naruto and dropped the scroll with a summon onto the Hokage desk. Who picked it up carefully and unrolled it. When he saw it he was shocked. Someone tried to go behind his back and he didn't really like it. After all, after the last few attempts they should learn that doing that was rather risky and stupid. It seems that the council forgot their place, said Hokage once he read it, and folded fingers in front of him and closed eyes for a moment. It has the fingertips of Danzo all over it, he is known for such things. But also your teammate might be jealous that you know those and come to them asking for help. He quietly said and rose from his chair and left to the council room with Naruto in tow. When they entered the room shinobi nodded when they saw them, while civilians sent them glares full of hate and hatred. Hokage walked to his seat at the head of the table and Naruto took one to his right. Can any of you tell me who tried to go behind my back? Asked an angry Hokage and sent murderous glares towards civilians, who managed not to flinch. Hokage-sama, we didn't think it's important enough to bother you. We just simply requested the presence of Uzumaki Naruto before this council, who should rise and show us some respect. Managed to say one of greater Naruto haters before he flinched when he felt killing intent coming off the shinobi council. First thing. His name is Senju Naruto, not Uzumaki. Second, he doesn't need to rise, technically you should rise and show him respect. Third, he is a shinobi under the command of Hokage-sama, no one else. Quietly said Nara Shikaku, annoyed as fuck by stupidity of civilians and decided that lifting his head and telling them truth would be less troublesome than not doing it. Thank you Nara-san, now where we were. Ah yes. What do you want from me? Asked Naruto, while glaring at civilians and flexing his chakra. But first thing, what is he doing in the council chamber? he added, pointing at Sasuke, who was hiding in the shadows. I don't remember inviting him, murmured Hokage and snapped his fingers. Immediately in front of him appeared two Anbu. Escort him out of the room. They grabbed Sasuke and removed him from the room. Now where were we? Yes, we were talking about what you want from me, said Naruto, while lazily playing with his kunai. We want you to teach Uchiha-sama to all of you, shouted Harino Mabuki. Not going to happen anytime soon, replied Naruto, while he was polishing one of his swords, not caring about glances from civilians. You should feel honored to teach him. After all, he is the last loyal Uchiha, shouted Izuna. Those words were one of the most stupid words they could say. When Naruto heard them, he started flaring chakra, and soon the floor and walls started to crack under pressure of his potent chakra. Do not order me to do anything and do not tell me anything about honor, he growled while slowly leaked some Mokutan and Kyubi chakra into his already potent chakra. Addition of those two made it way stronger, and shinobi were having problems with breathing. While civilians were taking a few steps backwards, the only person that didn't have problems with it was Hokage. He was accustomed to such volumes of chakra being released, and he could release even stronger ones, if he really wanted to do that. Naruto, I think it's enough, ordered Hokage, and everybody could once again breathe, after Naruto cut flow of his chakra. As Naruto said, he won't teach Uchiha Sasuke, who in my opinion doesn't deserve to be taught those. Next thing, this is the last time that I will tolerate your actions behind my back. Next time you will get punished for them. Council dismissed. Shinobi quickly rose from their seats. They were bored by Sasuke's antics, and they had more important matters to attend to, like training or taking care of family and clan. Civilians did it very reluctantly. They had time, a lot of it in fact, and wanted to annoy Hokage and his heir. And delaying the end of the council session was one of such things. They couldn't do that openly, so they did it in a more subtle manner, such as delaying or extending things. On the next day, Naruto was first to arrive at his team's training ground. When he arrived there, he was spotted by Yamato or Tenzo, or when in ANBU uniform, Tora, his first sensei and now his second sensei, that was focused on his Mokutan training. Good that you're here. I think it's time for you to learn two most powerful Mokutan jutsu. First one is Hokage Shiki Jijun Jutsu, Kakuan Knit and Sway Shu, Hokage-style 60-year-old technique, enclosed hermitage entering society with bliss-bringing hands. Second one is Mokutan, Mokurien no Jutsu, with Dragon Jutsu. For first one, seals are as follows: snake, rat, dragon, dog, hare, bird, snake, dragon, in water, snake, bird, dragon, tiger, boar, tiger, snake, rat, dragon, hare, snake, bird, dragon, young earth, horse, snake, dragon, bird, dragon, horse, snake, rat, dragon, dog, hare, bird. Snake, dragon, in water, snake, bird, dragon, tiger, boar, tiger, snake, rat, dragon, hare, snake, bird, dragon, young earth, snake, dragon, bird, snake, and final effect looks like this, he said before slamming hands onto ground and channeling his chakra into it. Around Naruto rose 10 pillars made out of wood with spikes facing inwards, and on Yamato's hand appeared kanji for sit. Can you channel some Kyubi chakra? Around 2 to 3 taels worth of it? I can show you how it works, he suggested, and Naruto nodded. But once he did that, he started feeling pain, and Kyubi chakra was being siphoned of him. It hurts a lot, and I can't draw more of it. Naruto and Yamato nodded and cancelled it. It's your best shot at stopping, short of going all out and using Kyubi chakra or summons. But once it transforms into its full form, it won't work, then you need to use your own or summons, said Yamato. Can you name all 9 and their allegiance? Ichibi, current Sabaku no Gara, B-rank threat, Jinton Kekii Genkai and Futon affinity, characteristic signs, black circles around eyes, that are signs of insomnia, tattoo with kanji for love over the left eye, gourd full of sand on his back. Shinobi of Sunagekure, son of Yandame Kazekage. Believed to be unstable, due to weak seal, probably 3 or 4-pronged ones. Suna never had good experts, and most of the Ichibi hosts were a little crazy. Nibi, current Niyujuto, C/B rank threat, unnatural agility and flexibility, extremely high affinity for Katan, can wield blue fires, cat specific. Lack of characteristic signs. Shinobi of Kumogakure. Sanbai, current Yagura, previous Mizukage S/A rank threat, unnatural affinity for water. Lack of specific signs. Shinobi of Kirigakure. Yanbi, current Jinchuriki Yotan no Rashi, S/A rank threat, Yotan Kekii Genkai, unnatural strength, red hairs and big fangs. Shinobi of Iwagakure. Gobi, current Jinchuriki Hanjoki no Jinchuriki, S/A rank threat, Futon Kekkei Genkai, lack of characteristic signs. Shinobi of Iwagakure. Rokubi, current Yudokata, A/B rank threat, lack of information on his abilities and physical description, last seen around Nami no Kuni, currently rogue, previously Kiri. Nanabai, current foe B/C rank threat, control over bugs, teal hairs and orange eyes. Shinobi of Takigakure. Hachibi, current killer B, S rank threat, ink production, huge amounts of chakra, even unnatural strength. Oxhorn tattoo on right cheek. Brother of Yandame Reikage, Shinobi of Kumogakure. Last but not least, me. Kyubi, current Senju Naruto, aka me, A rank threat, negative emotion sensing, strength, regenerative abilities, huge amount of chakra. Sign whisker marks. Shinobi of Konoha. Finished Naruto, and Yamato nodded. Kyubi helped you? Quietly asked Yamato. On most of them. He can't remember details about Rokubi. Said Naruto, and Yamato nodded. He was one of few that knew the truth behind sealing and knew that Naruto and Kyubi worked together. Or at least Kyubi was helping Naruto and didn't hate him, like most of the did. I would like you to try one thing that you may have. You're half-blood Uzumaki after all, and you may be able to use it. It's called Kongo Fusa. They're chains that can bind any person or even. It's unlikely that you will have them, but you should at least try it and see if you can. Try to focus your chakra on the tips of your finger and imagine it forming chains. Said Yamato, and Naruto did as he was told. From his hands and back shot out golden chains covered in seals and with sharp and pointy ends that looked like kunai. Impossible, said Kakashi, who appeared on the cleaning, while Naruto was trying to manifest those chains. Huh? Asked Naruto and looked at Kakashi. They are very rare Kekkei Genkai, even more powerful than Sharingan if the user is trained properly. We will need to talk with Hokage about giving you all Uzumaki scrolls that are in the village, or it's time for a trip to Yuzushiobakure and scouring ruins that are there. Explained his. What do you know about them? Asked Naruto. They're able to suppress chakra and can be used as rather dangerous weapons in fights. I saw them when your mother was training, and even 4 of us. I mean previous Team 7 and your father weren't able to get past them. Said Kakashi. I see. Replied Naruto, and used his sensory abilities to look around. Looks like the rest of the team is slowly walking towards us. Good. I think it's time for the classic bell test. Cheerfully, Kakashi and Naruto shook his heads slightly. It was going to be hard. Good that all of you are here. Your task is simple, said Kakashi, and took out of his pocket 2 bells, and the timer is set to 2 hours, and you need to take those 2 bells from me. Any limitations in what we can use? Asked Naruto. No. Any weapon, and you know. Replied Kakashi, and paled when he saw Naruto's expression. On his face was a predatory grin. One that looked way too close to Kushina-sensei, one to feel safe. Good. Start! Shouted Kakashi, and the team, excluding Naruto, left the clearing. Naruto started going through hand seals. Kuchio's no jutsu, shouted Naruto, and near him appeared a large ape Enma. I need you as Bo's staff. Sensei decided to perform another stupid test. Okay, replied Monkey, and turned into Bo's staff, which was quickly twirled around by Naruto, and a flurry of strikes went after Kakashi, forcing him to not read his book, because he couldn't block them with one hand. When Naruto decided that Kakashi was distracted enough, he quickly made 2 sealess clones that went towards Hinata and Sasuke unnoticed by Kakashi. Sasuke, we need to work together. None of us can beat him on our own. Quietly whispered Naruto clone, when it appeared behind Sasuke. Like I would need to work with any of you. Replied Sasuke and disappeared. Naruto just shook his head. That would be Uchiha's downfall one day. Working in a team was one of the most important things for Konoha shinobi. Kakashi was getting bored by fighting with Naruto, so he threw a few smoke bombs onto the ground and disappeared into bushes that were to his right. When he was there, he ran after the other 2 genin. First to find him, after he allowed it was Sasuke, who looked like he was going to murder him one way or another. Uchiha quickly attacked Kakashi head-on in taijutsu and didn't even need to hide his book. He was able to dodge and block all attacks with just one hand. How was it able to fight you? How? Shouted Sasuke, and his tongue clicked in annoyance. After that, he disengaged Kakashi and started weaving through hand seals katan. Kakaku no jutsu, he shouted, and a large fireball left his mouth and covered better than half of clearing, and when it was gone, Kakashi wasn't seen standing there, but there wasn't a corpse left, which meant he hid. Hide somewhere, but where? Sasuke didn't have a chance to think, before a pair of hands shot out of the ground below him and caught his ankles and pulled him down, burying him up to the head in the ground. Doton, Shinjuzanshu no Jutsu, said Kakashi, once he appeared on the surface. Your head above the others, added in mocking tone, and left to search for the next victim. Going after Naruto would be stupid, so he was forced to go after Hinata, who was surprisingly hard to find. She was hiding in the leaves of a few trees and she knew how to hide her chakra presence, or how to at least make it look small. Kakashi walked underneath her position for a few times, before he was able to spot her, and even then he had trouble doing that. Looks like Hyuga trained her well. So far Sasuke looks like the worst one in this team. His skills are quite good, but his personality and loose wolf altitude might be a huge problem, thought Kakashi, and started to flush her out of the treetops. He started with throwing a few kunai at her position, forcing her to jump out of the way, thus revealing her true position. When she landed onto the ground, she fell into the opening stance of Juken, but wasn't confident in what she was doing. When he tried to attack her, she was replaced by a log and he couldn't locate her chakra, like she completely disappeared from his view. Thank you, Naruto-kun, replied Hinata when she saw herself being moved from Kakashi's position. We need to get Sasuke to work with us, said Naruto, and she nodded. Yes, I don't like him, but it's a teamwork exercise, she quietly said. Can you use your Byakugan to find him? Quietly asked Naruto. I'm Sensor, but when I'm using my abilities, my chakra looks like a giant flare to almost everybody around me and they can track me. Also, your Byakugan would be blind. Hi, replied Hinata, before she activated it and took a long and careful look around the forest. I found him. He is stuck in the ground 400 meters to the north. Good. We need to rescue him from this stupid trap and force us to work together, said Naruto as they ran towards Sasuke's position. I don't need your help, shouted Sasuke when he saw them. I think you need it, so shut up and let me dig you out of this mess, said Naruto while flashing through hand seals and finishing with snake seal. When he was done, Sasuke was pushed out of the ground and didn't even say thank you. I don't need your help, he said before trying to run off, but then Naruto bow's staff extended and from it appeared third hand, which caught Sasuke and dragged him back. Let me go, you flea bag, shouted Sasuke and made one of the worst mistakes. Never ever insult boss summons. I mean, you can try, but chance that you will survive the meeting is slim, at best. Oh. Hinata-chan, we better get the hell out of here, said Naruto, when he heard those words. He is for one hell of a lot of pain and humiliation. He just insulted Monkey King Enma, who has a temper almost as bad as the Uzumaki clan, and that's an achievement. He is also very, very easy to insult. Aren't you attacking me? Asked surprised Kakashi. He was even more surprised when he saw the look of horror on Naruto's face, and noticed he was missing his bow staff. Then something clicked in his mind and remembered that Enma was easy to anger. He didn't do that, did he? He did, and I'm not going to come near Enma until he is calm. Last time after such a thing I was forced to put every single bone in my arms into their proper places, explained Naruto, and at the same time loud shouts were heard. They sounded similar to Sasuke, yet different. They were way higher than Sasuke's voice used to be. They were soon followed by crashing trees and sounds of heavy hits finding their targets, followed by more screams and cries. Dozens of minutes later Enma came back, dragging barely conscious and beaten Sasuke. He had so many bruises, cuts, wounds and other things that he looked like he met Shinigami. Literally, there wasn't a single part of his body without any bruise, cut or something worse. Enma-sama, I'm sorry for my student behavior, quietly said Kakashi, hoping that he was off the hook, same as his student. I think he learned his lesson, said Monkey before returning to his home, happy that he had an opportunity to stretch his muscles and have some fun. Heal him? It will take a better part of my reserves, asked Naruto, or drag him to hospital? Heal, said his sensei, and Naruto nodded. First he knocked out teams so he could work in peace, without his grunts, screams and other unpleasant things. Kakashi-sensei, can you help me and put back his bones into their proper place so I can use my shosen? Asked Naruto, and once older started putting together bones. He healed them using his. It took him over an hour, but after that major injuries were healed and now he just needed to wake up. Since Sasuke is Sleeping Beauty right now, you two will do some stretching exercises and work on your strength, said Kakashi with an evil glint visible in his eye. Naruto thought that it would be pleasant, but he was soon wrong. Kakashi, if he wanted to, was a terrible slave driver and sadist, and after 3 hours of warming up everybody, even Sasuke who woke up, were laying on their backs and panting heavily. Are you insane? Asked Naruto after they finished the so-called warm-up. Once he did that, he ate 2 soldier pills to rebuild his chakra. His pool was drained by healing Sasuke and by strengthening his muscles during training so he could survive it. I don't remember AMBU training to be so harsh. I'm not insane. You're just a bunch of lazy genin that I need to turn into proper shinobi. Now Sasuke and Hinata practice chakra control. Hinata, I know that you learned tree walking, so you will show that to Sasuke. While Naruto will have my personal attention. Naruto shuddered when he heard those words. What are we going to do? Asked Naruto once they were alone. Weapon dodging and deflecting, said Kakashi, and before Naruto could respond, the first wave of projectiles was flying towards him. He quickly took out one of his kunai and started deflecting most of the projectiles, while dodging the rest of them. That wasn't too hard, he said after first wave was gone. Yes, it wasn't, but this one will be, said Kakashi, and took out a few storage scrolls full of shuriken and kunai and launched them at Naruto, who looked like what the hell is that, but he quickly started dodging most of them, but dozens of them managed to graze him, and he looked like a pincushion. Thankfully most of them were stopped by his mesh armor and normal armor, but some penetrated the mesh and embedded in flesh below. After 30 minutes of this torture, Kakashi decided it was enough. That's good enough. Practice chakra control and send Sasuke here, said Cyclops before Naruto walked away, while pulling out weapons that remained stuck in his arms and legs. Surprisingly, wounds didn't want to heal like they used to do, which meant that there was weak poison on those weapons or he was exhausted after so little training. But compared to training that he had with Yamato, it was hell. Yamato never was so demanding and knew some limits. Sasuke, Cyclops wants you. Prepare for loads of pain, said cheerfully Naruto, while he walked to one of the trees that were here and was relatively straight and without annoying branches. Sasuke, when saw Naruto almost fall onto ground, Naruto armor was covered in blood and his clothes were full of cuts and were ripped in many places. Even mesh armor that was under them was torn and blood was flowing from many small cuts. What happened to you? He weakly asked once he jumped onto ground. Dodging and deflecting weapons and my reflex usually is really good, and I don't have problem with dodging them. But he decided to make it hard, very hard, replied Naruto, and started walking up and down the tree while using his chakra to hover kunai over his palm. It was way harder than normal exercise, because he needed to maintain concentration of chakra in 2 points, but also there were required different strengths of pulses. While tree walking didn't require a lot of chakra, just a steady stream of it. On the other hand, kunai hovering required steady streams, but of different force, and they needed to be quite strong. However, it wasn't the pinnacle of chakra control, it was considered a level exercise, and there were 2 Kage level exercises. One that was required for learning Rasengan, which involved spinning a lot of chakra in set space, and second was balancing on a needle using only chakra to keep balance. Team 7 rotated in such a manner for the next 5 hours till it was evening and Kakashi let them rest. Out of all of them, Naruto was in best shape, but even he was exhausted and covered in bruises, cuts, flesh wounds, and his clothes looked like they met furious chainsaws, and even mesh armor was in pieces. Sasuke was in a lot worse shape. After beating Enma, he looked like he came back from hell. Kakashi added his own list of injuries and he was covered in them. His clothes were in pieces and his chakra pool was exhausted. Hinata was exhausted, but at least her clothes didn't look like rags, they looked like something that human beings may have worn. Naruto limped his way to Inuzuka compound where he knew he could find Hana, who was quite a good medic and wouldn't question what happened to him. When he entered it, he ran into Kiba, who was also returning from his team practice. And he was in similar shape to him, although a little better. What happened to you? He asked Naruto. Kakashi, who was supposed to be lazy and laid back. I need to get your sister, so she can patch those wounds, replied the blonde, while he was pulling out the last weapons that were embedded in his body, which wasn't a pleasant thing. What about you? Sensei, who happens to be my sister, and she is a slave driver, said Kiba, and Akamaru nodded in agreement, while whimpering a little. They entered the inner area and almost immediately found Hana and her dogs, which were the size of fully grown huskies, but were brown, not gray and white like huskies. What happened to you? She asked once she saw Naruto. Kakashi's idea of reflex training and taijutsu. Can you heal those wounds? I'm too exhausted to do that on my own and I'm almost out of chakra, Naruto said, and Hana nodded. Yes, and I'm going to talk with Kakashi about your training. If you want, you can crash in one of the rooms here, replied Hana before she started healing Naruto, who had a surprising amount of wounds. Also, there was a fair share of it embedded in his body. When she was done with healing Naruto, there was a small pile laying beside him, and even a few shuriken and kunai. No wonder that fox couldn't heal you, those were covered in weak poison to slow down your regeneration. Thanks, if you don't mind, I'm going to crash somewhere and sleep. I'm too tired to drag myself to my house, said Naruto, and found the nearest free bed and went to sleep. In the morning he had a nasty wake-up call when he felt the wet tongue of a large dog on his cheek. He immediately opened his eyes to see who was the threat and to look around. Wake up, pup, said Kuramaru, who woke him up. Yeah, replied Naruto and got out of his bed. He stuck kunai in the wall of the room and flashed to his room in Senju compound to get new clothes. And decided to add as many armor plates to his mesh armor as possible and practical, so he could be somewhat safe during today's training. On top of them, he put his normal clothes and armor. When he was done, he flashed back to Inuzuka compound. Morning, he murmured when he entered the room where Hana, Kiba, and Sim and the rest of her family were eating breakfast. I want to keep my sensei alive. Why? Asked Sim, with raised eyebrows. He turned me into a pincushion. Ask Hana how many he managed to get out of my body. A lot of them, added Hana, and Sim nodded, and he had chakra exhaustion. What the hell he did with you? Asked shocked matriarch of Inuzuka clan. Training. Taijutsu, chakra control, dodging and deflecting, and I worked on a few on my own. Ones that take a huge amount of chakra, said Naruto and looked at the clock. I need to get going. He will be in 10 minutes. After that he disappeared in Shunshin. 10 minutes later, Naruto and the rest of Team 7 were waiting for their sensei on their training field. Only Naruto looked relatively well, Hinata was completely healed, but it was obvious that she was exhausted and Sasuke was a little battered. I want to kill you. I spent half of my night pulling out other weapons from my wounds, shouted Sasuke at Kakashi, who just shrugged. We will keep the same training as yesterday till you start working as a team and your performance will be acceptable. In week time we will have team versus team spar. It will be Team 8, announced Kakashi, and before they could blink, first projectiles were flying towards them. Next week was a torture for them, and Naruto and rest of his team were constant guests and medics. Even Sasuke managed to get convinced to let Hana heal him. They started to form some sort of bonds, which could be described as some sort of friendship. Good that you're all here, said Hana once both Team 7 and Team 8 gathered in Training Ground 8 for team versus team exercises. It will be a 3 versus 3 fight, there are no rules, excluding no maiming or killing moves, and be careful with. You have 30 minutes to plan tactics, and after that we will start. Kakashi will be referring and I will be second. Teams quickly disappeared in different parts of the training ground, while Team 8 kept themselves to the clearing. Team 7 decided to hide inside a forested area of the training ground. Any plan? Asked Sasuke, who after several beatings at the hands of various people started to be less arrogant than before. It wasn't as good as it could be, but there was positive change. Shino is long range and weak against katana attacks. Kiba is close range and Sakura will be either medic or middle range, or, said Naruto, and the rest looked at him. So I suggest that I go against Sakura. Sasuke will take Shino and try to fry his bugs. Hinata, you need to defeat Kiba. I like it, said Sasuke, and Hinata nodded. I take on Naruto. Baka, Shino, you will deal with Hinata and you Kiba will deal with Sasuke, said Sakura, and the rest nodded. They learned that arguing with her was dangerous, so they reluctantly nodded and agreed, even if they knew that chances that Sakura could defeat Naruto were slim at best. Shino nodded and agreed to the Sakura plan, but he carefully analyzed his team's chances to win, and in his opinion they were slim at best. His father told him that Naruto was forced to be reckoned with, and that he was one of strongest in the current generation. Sasuke was also strong. He wasn't as strong as Naruto, but for Genin he was quite strong and unpredictable in fights. Hinata was weakest out of her whole team, but there wasn't a huge gap between her and Sasuke, and she was improving rapidly. His team compared to them looked like academy students. He was the strongest out of his team, but he was maybe as strong as Sasuke, and he didn't have too much chakra, and his attacks were limited to his bugs, which were good at tracking and in support roles. As the main attack they were useless. Few katan, and he was out of fight till he could regrow his colony. Kiba was good at taijutsu and his clan, but excluding that he was mediocre at best. Also his alpha mentality and brashness was a huge problem during battle, and in this scenario it would be a huge problem. After all, Uchiha were known for traps, and knowing Team 7 they would booby trap the whole area. But going back to Team 8, Sakura honestly was useless. She was Sasuke fangirl, even if Sasuke completely ignored her, and she hated Naruto for some unknown reason. Kiba nodded, but he had really bad feelings about Team 7. He knew that Naruto was strong. After all, he saw how he was treated by Hana, and that forced him to respect Naruto. After all, I didn't show respect to anybody without damn good reason. But there was also some sort of aura around him that screamed danger, and he didn't want to test it. Sasuke on one hand was in his opinion strong, but on the other he had or used to have lone wolf altitude, which might be Team 7 weakness. Hinata was a taijutsu specialist, and she was in the top 3 of taijutsu in graduating class. Also she was Hyuga, which meant that her strikes were dangerous, and Hyuga were one of clans that focused on teamwork, along with polishing taijutsu. Which means trouble for his team. Compared to Team 7, his team looked bad, very bad. Sakura was damned fangirl and was fawning over Sasuke wherever she saw him, and she was hating Naruto and was showing her hostile altitude even when high-ranking ninja were around. She was only quiet when she saw Naruto-sensei. Shino was good, but he was mostly long-range, which would be a huge problem against Team 7. They were mostly close range and his would be useless. He was good at taijutsu and training in the Inuzuka clan with sister helped, but he knew it wouldn't be enough to win. Sakura thoughts aren't worth my attention as of yet. They will be revealed later, where more pieces of puzzle will be revealed, but now she can be pretty well described. Want to bet who will win? Asked Kakashi. Nah, I know that Naruto on his own could walk right through my team without too much trouble, said Hana and shook her head. I hope that it will break Sakura out of her fangirl attitude. We will see, said Kakashi and started walking towards the middle of the clearing. It was time to get this show on the road. Start! Shouted Kakashi, once both teams appeared in the middle of the training ground. It was a large clearing flanked by dense forest on almost every side of it, and there was a small lake to the north, and few small streams near underbrush that were ending in that lake to the north, turning most of the woods near the edges of the clearing into a muddy, sticky swamp that could stop almost everything. The Naruto team disappeared into a forest that was to the north of them, while Team 8 hid in one to the south. On 3, said Naruto, and took out a few Fuma shuriken and unfolded them. Once he did that, he started counting. 1, 2, 3, go, he said while hurling those shuriken towards Sakura and forcing her to jump out of her hiding. Especially after they cut through the tree that was in front of her and didn't lose too much momentum. Are you trying to kill me? She screeched once she jumped out of her cover and charged at Naruto, who looked surprised, responded with his own charge with kunai in his right hand. Meanwhile Sasuke went after Shino and forced him to retreat by generous usage of Katon, Hosenka no Jutsu, and since he couldn't risk too extensive damage to his hive, he was forced to recall all and engage in taijutsu, which finished badly for him, and soon he was knocked out by Sasuke, who looked around assessing the situation and going to help Hinata, who was dodging Kiba and Akamaru attacks. At the beginning Kiba tried to attack Hinata, but she just kept weaving around his attacks and forcing him to use energy just to try to catch her. Stay still, so I can hit you, shouted angry Inuzuka, and was surprised when Hinata stopped suddenly. If you want you can try, she said, and molded some chakra to prepare for quick kawarimi to get out of here, when Kiba will activate traps that were placed there by Naruto clones with help from Sasuke, who as Uchiha was rather good at making them. They weren't deadly, just really painful and dangerous. When Kiba charged straight at Hinata, he activated every single one. While some weren't dangerous, they were annoying: blunt kunai launchers, flash bangs, smoke bombs, and weak poison mist. After he walked through that field he looked like hell. His clothes were shredded, he was covered in multiple cuts, scratches and other flesh wounds, and when Sasuke managed to catch him, he didn't even have strength to defend against him, and chopping the back of his neck was enough to send him to land unconscious. Sakura swung her kunai madly, and when she was close enough to Naruto, she suddenly changed path of its flight, and it went straight towards his throat and through it with a shower of blood. When she saw that, she was so happy. Her worst enemy was finally dead. That disgrace of ninja that sabotaged everything that civilian ninja worked for was dead. However, her happiness turned into shock when she saw Naruto disappearing in a plume of smoke, and there was no blood on the ground or on the kunai in her hand. In that moment her happiness turned into shock and fear. She knew that Naruto could try to. Is she crazy? Asked Kakashi, when he saw what she did. Good that he used Kage Bunshin, because if he was normal, one Hokage would have our heads on a silver platter, the same as her. Before she could comprehend what happened, she was pulled downwards by hands that emerged from the ground and caught her ankles, dragging her down. Once they were done, she was buried to the head in the ground. Doton, Shinjuzanshu no Jutsu, said Naruto, before he emerged from the ground behind Sakura. Other genin were furious at her, same as Jonin who was overseeing it. Now Sakura-chan, care to explain why did you try to kill me? He asked in his mocking tone. Because you're a demon child and baka that shouldn't live. She shouted at him, still in shock and unaware of the consequences of her actions. Naruto and just shook their heads. Hana walked to her and dragged Sakura out of the ground, by yanking her collar. She didn't show any emotions, but wasn't really gentle with her moves. Inside she was livid. That scum. No sorry Kushina-san, that piece of shit. No sorry, that motherfucking son of a bitch. She did the worst thing, she is a disgrace to Kunoichi. I will slowly, carefully and painfully teach her why you should never, ever insult the son of Red Death in front of her students and friends. Swore Hana and Kakashi. When the council hears about that, civilians will be happy, while elders and shinobi will be bloodthirsty and Hokage will be livid. Calmly thought of Kakashi, after he got over the previous shock. Where are we going? Weakly asked Sakura, once she noticed that Hana wasn't stopping and was dragging her somewhere. Tower. Kakashi takes the rest of the team there, once you clean the mess here, she said over her shoulder, while looking at the silver-haired who nodded and started ordering genin, who were still in shock and couldn't believe what their teammate and friend just did. They should be at least comrades and such things shouldn't ever cross their minds. Let's go quietly, Kakashi said quietly, once everything was cleaned and tempers cooled off. When they arrived at the Hokage Tower, they were directly led to his office where Sakura, Hana, Yamanaka and Noichi and a few ANBU were. Since all interested parties are here, I think we can start, said Hokage and looked at Sakura, who was almost terrified by his gaze. Naruto, can you tell me what happened? Asked older leader. I engaged her in taijutsu and she managed to stick a kunai in my throat, right after I switched with one of my Kage Bunshin. And you know that there's no difference between Kage Bunshin and real body. They look exactly the same unless someone is skilled sensor or has Byakugan active and saw original body. Explained Naruto, and older shinobi blinked a few times. She is either mentally unstable or was paid to do that or was influenced by someone to do that. But we don't have enough evidence for execution or demotion. Through Yamanaka and Noichi, while he watched her carefully, he saw a few rapid movements of her eyes and muscles. Haruno-san, can you explain why you did this? Asked one of ANBU. One that was commander of the whole ANBU. I don't know. I let go of my instincts, she weakly said, and everybody nodded, but also sensed a lie. I won't punish you too harshly. You will be required to do 20 D-rank missions and pass a mental examination, said Hokage, and Hana let out sighs of relief. However, Sakura was unaware that she was on a completely new level of hell, thanks to her sensei. All of you excluding Team 7 are dismissed. Other shinobi nodded and left the room. They saw this subtle change in Hokage's face and slightly narrowed eyes. I think it's time to reveal to you one of our greatest secrets. Truth behind events that happened on October 10th, 12 years ago. Started aged leader, and there were gasps of surprise from the mouths of Hinata and Sasuke, while Kakashi and Naruto didn't even blink. I suggest that first we deal with that pest sent here by Danzo, said Naruto and pointed towards the bookshelf in the corner, and later completely sealed this room. I believe that my father updated security measures with some Uzumaki seals. Hokage nodded and leaped towards the bookshelf and yanked out ANBU with a blank mask and weird tattoo on his arm, not the usual ANBU swirl. Root, murmured the elder leader and looked at Naruto. How did you find him? Trick with ANBU tattoo. If you know proper seals, you can force every single one to pulse, and this one didn't respond. So I assumed that he was the enemy and my sensor skills picked him up the moment I entered the room. Explained Naruto, and Sasuke's eyes were narrowed. He looked more and more interesting and he started to respect him. Hokage returned to his desk and pressed a button hidden under it. Once he did that, complex ceiling matrices appeared all around it, and lines of kanji appeared all over it. Blue light enveloped the whole room and Sasuke and Hinata were shocked. What was that? Asked Sasuke. Security measures. We don't want anybody to see and hear our talk. There are secrets that are so vigorously guarded that the less known, the better. As of now, the content of this is a S-rank secret, and you can't reveal it without my or Naruto's agreement. Sternly said to Hokage, ask no questions till he finishes. Hi, replied Sasuke and Hinata. Let's start with Senju Hashirama and his wife Uzumaki Mito. Everybody remember story about Valley of End fight? Asked Naruto, and they nodded. Good. It will be way easier. As you remember, Senju Hashirama defeated Uchiha Madara, but he also defeated Kyubi, who after that was sealed inside of Uzumaki Mito, from the royal line of the Uzumaki clan. When she was old and dying, my mother Red Death Uzumaki Kushina was brought to Konoha to have Kyubi sealed inside her. 12 years ago she was giving birth to me in undisclosed location, and somehow she was attacked by unknown Uchiha, who ripped Kyubi out of her after she gave birth. Jinchuriki seal is weakest when body is under immense stress, and giving birth is one of such situations. My father was forced to sacrifice himself and seal Kyubi chakra in me. That's most important part of story. Now details are people that have sealed inside them. There are always 9 such people in the world, and being gives certain advantages to the host of. But you're usually mistreated by villagers, because they can't recognize the difference between kunai or shuriken and the storage scroll. Explained. Naruto and Hinata and Sasuke were somewhat shocked by such revelations. They suspected things about Naruto, especially Sasuke, who knew that Itachi was assigned missions to protect certain boy. One that looked way too close to Naruto to be someone else. Hinata knew because of her father, who said few positive things about Naruto on her team. Like he knew something about him that wasn't a common knowledge. So that's why you were treated like trash and called demons, said Sasuke, too shocked to say anything else. Yes. While most shinobi can see the difference between kunai and storage scrolls, most civilian ones don't even know the basics of. Said Naruto, so for them I'm the reincarnation of Kyubi. That's terrible. Said Hinata, and rest nodded. You wonder why I decided to tell you now? Don't you? Asked Hokage, and everybody nodded. Because you need to know how to fight along with such a person, and so you can fully accept him. Sasuke, you almost look like the second half of Naruto. That weird ball that you made from chakra was one of your abilities? Asked Sasuke, suddenly remembering this weird ball used by Naruto. Yes and no. Said Naruto, and created in his palm Rasengan. That's the normal version, that one is the version. He said once it turned violet. After that he dispersed it and looked at Hokage. Last thing. You can talk about it between yourself and with anybody privy to this secret. You can't talk about it with your friends, unless Naruto allows you. Is everything clear? Asked the aged leader, and everybody nodded. Good. We will resume training the day after tomorrow. Tomorrow is a day for you to digest information about, and then as homework read scrolls about them, so you can understand it better. Said Kakashi, and let his team go, but first Hokage disabled seals. About the Tsunade seal. It gives her perfect chakra control and a giant chakra battery, which is necessary for her super strength. Because it's based on precise chakra control, this seal enhances the whole body and adds regenerative abilities similar to Kyubi chakra, but it's much faster. After that fateful day, team mechanics changed. They seemed to look at Naruto in a completely different light. For the first time in ages, Sasuke started to be more open and less arrogant. It wasn't much, but compared to his previous behavior it was a huge change. He didn't have a person with similar experience to support him, and Naruto was that kind of person. So that's why he was out of the public eye for the last few years. Said Sasuke, when he had time to digest information and think about them without any biases. Yes. But also so he could master Mokuton, which requires perfect mastery of Doton and Suiton. Added Kakashi, who just appeared and was even earlier than Naruto, which was weird. Can you honestly tell me what you think about Naruto? Well, he is a walking chakra tank and is a pretty good shinobi. Also seems like a nice enough person. Quietly, Sasuke and Kakashi nodded. Yes. He is friendly and helpful. Added Hinata. And what could be heard from civilians about him? Asked them Kakashi. Demon brat, demon child, and few others, said Sasuke, and his sensei nodded. Yes, that's one of the best cases where you should check data in multiple sources. Are you ready for today training? He added in more cheerful tone once Naruto appeared. Yes. Answered his students in unison. Good, today we will check your chakra affinity. Said Kakashi, and gave them chakra papers. Channel your chakra. He ordered, and watched the results. When he saw Naruto paper he almost fainted. It split in two and one part of it grew leaves, while the second turned into ash. Impossible, I never suspected to see a child with so many affinities. Can you explain what happened? Said Sasuke, and Kakashi nodded. Leaves are signs of Mokuton, which equals Suiton and Doton. Split is Futon and ash is Katon. Now you, Sasuke. Said Jonin, and looked at the paper in Sasuke's hand. It wrinkled and burned into ash. Katon and Raiton. Hard to say which is primary, probably both. Last but not least, Hinata. The heiress nodded and focused chakra into paper, and it dampened. Suiton, unexpected from Hyuga, and no wonders that you have problems with Juken. What do you mean by that? asked Hinata, and Kakashi scratched his chin, thinking about good explanation. Juken is designed for Doton, not Suiton. So when you're learning Juken, at least the standard version of it, you're fighting with yourself. Explained Kakashi, and Hinata nodded. I will talk with Hayashi-sama about it. He should see the reason to allow me to help you with training. I'm not Hyuga, but I copied a lot of moves from different styles and some of them will help you with your Juken. What about actual training? Asked Naruto. I will show Sasuke the basics of right-on manipulation, while you will do the same thing with Suiton and Hinata, said Kakashi, and Naruto nodded. Can you teach me the basics of right-on? I need it for a certain version of Rasengan. I need to stabilize it, and I don't have any idea how to do it without right-on, said Blonde. Fine, replied Cyclops, and was surrounded by a few hundred clones of Naruto. Dispel in tens, every 10 to 20 minutes. Ordered Naruto, and let go clones with Kakashi and Sasuke to the second part of the forest. Hinata, activate your Byakugan and see what I'm doing, said Naruto, before he started slowly pushing his chakra into the leaf, making it soak. You're pushing your chakra and soaking the leaf, she said, once she saw what he was doing and how he was doing that. Exactly. Your task is to do the same. Once you learn Suiton manipulation really well, you can use moisture from air and water from plants, said Naruto, and force moisture from surrounding plants to focus on his hand. You have naturally good control, so it shouldn't be too hard for you, and in the meantime I will work on my own project. Okay, replied Hinata, and was trying to do it, while the Naruto clone was watching over. Original was reading some weird black scroll and he was solely focused on it. It doesn't make sense. He says that souls are bound to the body of sacrifice, but on the other hand destroying sacrifice won't send them to Pure Land, shouted angry Naruto, after reading the scroll. I hate night aim. Understanding them is so hard that it's almost impossible, and they're dangerous. What are you talking about? Asked Hinata, who was trying to soak the leaves and was doing that without much success. Nothing important, replied much calmer Naruto, and she reluctantly nodded. In a similar manner, with the addition of the old training regime, the team trained day after day, and almost a month later Kakashi decided they're ready for their first true mission. They were doing missions before, but they were just enough to fulfill the bare minimum and were mostly done by Naruto clones, while the team was training. Back to the day of the incident. After Team 8 left the room, Hana dragged her students to one of more secluded training fields, one where she could shout and yell without too many questions from other shinobi. Sakura, can you tell me why you did that? She quietly asked, while leaking some killing intent at her pink-haired excuse of genin. Because he is a demon child and baka, replied younger Kunoichi, and took a few steps backwards when she felt the full extent of Hana killing intent. You are aware that for such words you could be killed on the spot? Asked Hana. Why? Because of the Sandaime laws, explained Hana. I don't know what you heard at home about Naruto, but I won't allow you to so blatantly disrespect him. You're genin, not some civilian, and as such you need to behave properly. Someday you will be fighting under his command or in his squad, and you need to forget any biases and arguments that you have with your comrades. But, tried to protest Sakura. No buts. You're off the Hokage hook, but not mine. Now shut up and it's time for your punishment. Since you need to do 20 D-rank missions. Hana extended last word and looked at Kiba. It happens that our kennels need cleaning, and you will do that as your next 20 D-rank. Yada! Finally, I won't need to do that, shouted Kiba. Yes. But now training, for the next 6 hours you need to escape me, she said, and she growled in agreement and looked at genin, who gulped and started running as fast as they could. With jaws snapping inches behind their backs, and those were rather big, not a puppy that was a partner of Kiba, but fully grown ones, and their jaws were full of big and nasty teeth. Honey, what happened to you? Asked Hironomabuki once she saw her daughter covered in blood, sweat, grime, and flesh wounds that closely resembled bite marks of giants. Sensei was angry about an accident that happened during training, managed to say Sakura, before she passed out from exhaustion and pain. Dozens of minutes later Sakura woke up in her bed and was still pale, but looked better than before. Can you tell me what happened? Asked her mother. I almost killed that demon brat during training, and Sensei was livid about it. She decided to punish me for that by 20 days of kennel duty in Inuzuka compound and today's exercise, which was basically dodging and avoiding her jaws, explained Sakura, and her mother's face showed happiness and pride. Good job with that attempt to kill him. We're one step closer to getting rid of him. I will try to dig you out of this mess and try to punish Naruto. Mabuki reassured Sakura and gently tapped her shoulder. Current time, Team 7 training ground. I think you're ready for your first true mission. Meet me at the Hokage Tower in 20 minutes, said Kakashi and disappeared before anybody could mutter a word. 20 minutes later, Team Kakashi was standing in the mission office waiting for Hokage to assign a mission for them. Hokage-sama, may I request a C-rank mission for my team? Asked Kakashi, while looking at his team, which honestly looked more than ready for such a thing. Yes. And I have a perfect mission for you. It's courier duty to know Sato. Said Hokage, and at the same time, Naruto and Kakashi moved uncomfortably. I don't want to be disrespectful, but considering my parents, and how are they treated in IWA, is it safe for me to go there? Asked Naruto. Yes. Never mind, said Hokage and threw the scroll behind him, and it fell into a box similar to the one that was under the window. But this one should be perfect, same type of mission, but Kirigakure no Sato. I think we will take it, said Kakashi, and his team nodded. Prepare for a month of travel. We shouldn't meet anything worse than bandits. 30 minutes later, Team 7 was waiting for their sensei at the gates of Konoha. Everybody was excited. It was their first serious mission and first time traveling to another country. Wait for everybody? Nope. Naruto already went to Tetsun no Kuni during the Kage Summit. Where is our sensei? Growled Naruto. He will be late even for his own funeral. Ma, don't be so hasty, Naruto, said Kakashi, who just jumped down from one of the trees that were growing all around the road. Now we are going to Kiri and it will take some time. So control your speed, we don't want to exhaust ourselves. Why did you reject the first mission? Asked Hinata. And what about your parents and IWA? Because of their bingo book. I'm in it, and we don't want Naruto to be placed there so soon. About his parents? Well, Kiroi Senko and Red Death are hated in IWA, so the further from it, the safer Naruto is. So Kiri was a far better place to be than IWA, replied Kakashi. But that was only theory, and simple courier duty turned into something more. In an undisclosed location. So you want me to murder Senju Naruto for 30 million ryo plus whatever I can get for his weapons and bounties that are on his teammates? Asked Rokusho Aoi. Yes. You also will be granted pardon from all your crimes by the Konoha Council, said very feminine voice, and there was a flash of pink hair. And position in Senju compound. You got me. So where are they? Asked soon to be rich, if everything went as planned, Aoi. On the road to Kirigakure. Okay, give me 2 weeks and you will have their heads, said Aoi, and disappeared in a swirl of leaves, taking all the papers provided by this person. Is it only me, or are we followed? Quietly asked Hinata, while looking at her sensei. We are. 2 chains on the road 500 meters in front of us, and weak 200 to the east, said Naruto, and Kakashi nodded. You will deal with it, while I will take care of it. Do not kill them, I would like to question them. Hi, replied younger members of the team, and Kakashi disappeared to take care of the wannabe assassin. Sasuke, Hinata, can you take care of the left one? Quietly asked Naruto, when they were 100 meters before the supposed ambush should happen. Yes, you want to deal with right one? Asked Sasuke. Yep, replied Naruto, and slightly moved his swords. So they would be easier to take out, but excluding that, nobody could tell that all of his muscles were tense, and he was ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. When they walked past a puddle of water, 2 people emerged from it with chains between them and gauntlets on second hand. Hinata quickly fell into the opening stance of Juken and went after one to the left, and before he could blink he was unconscious. His brother didn't fare well. He was knocked out by Naruto chop to the neck, and in a matter of seconds it was over. Sasuke and Naruto quickly tied them with some ninja wire and dragged them to a nearby tree. I swear I saw those faces, murmured Naruto, and started looking through a bingo book that he always kept to himself. Bingo. Demon brothers from Kiri, Gozu and Meizu. C-rank threatens 3 million if delivered separately, 12 if together. Masters of poison and ambush, before desertion. You are right, said Kakashi, who appeared behind them with a body slung over his shoulder and a weird sword in the second hand. Raijin no Ken? Asked Naruto, when he noticed blade in Kakashi's hand. Yes, and Rokusho Aoi, now from AIM, previously from Konoha. I wonder who paid them to do their dirty job and who was the target. For me they're too weak, for Naruto honestly speaking too. Sasuke might have problems with them, or might not. Hinata would be a problem for them, they're Tai or specialists. So someone underestimated someone and hired those 3 to kill him or her. said Kakashi and placed the wannabe assassin near his knocked-out companions. Guessing by their age, I would say that one that did this tried to break the alliance between Kiri and Konoha. And it's a very hush-hush type of alliance, and only councils know about it, said Naruto. Of course. So probably the civilian council is once again meddling with international relations. Kiri has no interest in breaking alliance, actually it's godsend for them, added Kakashi. Maybe we should ask those three? Said Naruto and pointed to waking up enemies. Ah yes. See ya in a few minutes, said Kakashi and disappeared with prisoners for a few moments. A sudden moment of quiet was interrupted by a few cries and it was over. You were right, Naruto, about who sent them. But we will deal with it once we're back in Konoha. You don't trust messengers? Asked Naruto, and Kakashi nodded. As do I. Even summons were losing their messages, especially when the civilian council was meddling with affairs of the village. Problem is that it increases rank missions to at least A rank, if not S rank. It's up to you if you want to finish it, said Kakashi in his business-like voice. I want to do that. It's our first mission outside of the village, and I believe we will be able to handle any problems, said Sasuke, and Naruto nodded. Since you want to continue, I think we may speed up. We don't know if they had any accomplice, so it will be safer if we move at combat speed and not using main roads until we are in Mizu-no-Kuni. Then we need to go slower, so we aren't considered a threat by their forces and thus we aren't attacked, ordered Kakashi, and everybody nodded. After that they sped off towards Kiri, shocking many merchants and other travelers that saw them, or rather after images of them. Naruto, why leaf in your Hitayate is red? Asked Sasuke, when they were running. So you can ask questions, replied Naruto, and everybody rolled their eyes, but seriously, it's one of the symbols of my rank. What rank? You're just a genin, said Sasuke. On paper, yes. In reality, nope. I have Kage level access to secret data, and as you remember, I was at a Gakage meeting, replied Naruto, and Kakashi nodded. As sensei, he had full access to reports from missions performed by his genin and their resumes. When he was reading Naruto 1, he was shocked by the data that was inside of it. Gakage Summit? What's that? Asked Hinata. Meeting of Hokage, Kazekage, Tsuchikage, Reikage, Mizukage and their respective advisors and bodyguards. They're meetings in which decisions concerning all countries are made, and if there are disputes between various villages, they are solved in such meetings, explained Kakashi. But usually it's more of getting together with leaders and you can sleep through it without missing too much. But I think we are getting close to Kiri. Aoi, one of Mizukage's bodyguards, is around 5 kilometers in front of us, said Naruto, and Kakashi nodded and looked at his Sharingan. You are right, and he also noticed us, agreed Kakashi. A few minutes later they landed on the ground in front of Aoi. Kakashi-san, Naruto-san, and those two are who? Asked Aoi when he saw them. Ah yes. You only saw Naruto on Kage Summit, and fought me during the last war. Naruto is on my genin team, and those two are Uchiha Sasuke and Hyuga Hinata, said Kakashi, while scratching the back of his hand. We are here to deliver a message to Mizukage-sama. I presume data concerning things discussed during last summit? Asked Aoi. Not here and not now. Somewhere more private. I believe we have tales 4 that came from Konoha and other 4 from Kiri. Naruto, and Aoi's eyes widened and suddenly veins around his left eye bulged out. Yes. Some rebels are still alive and try to attack forces loyal to Mizukage. About those 4 that came from Konoha, they look like ones that assaulted our shinobi previously, said Aoi, and Kakashi's eyes widened. He wasn't privy to that data. Only few people in the whole Konoha knew what Root did to other villages. We will deal with Konoha and Kiri, said Kakashi, and Aoi nodded. In the meantime, Naruto took out one of the swords. Naruto, can you give me one of the swords? Asked Kakashi, and Naruto nodded and threw a second at him. Jonin caught it and swung it a few times to get used to it, and nodded approvingly, as good as it used to be during the Third War. Naruto, take 2 to the right. I will take those 2 to the left. Sasuke, Hinata, stay out of this, ordered Kakashi, and his students nodded while he and Naruto charged toward their opponents, who didn't even manage to blink before they were killed. Ninja treated ninjutsu like a last resort. If they could finish a fight with simple weapons or taijutsu, they used it. Ninjutsu was flashy, loud, took a lot of time to prepare, and was more demanding than normal taijutsu attacks, even with chakra to enhance strength of blows. Especially when fighting against much weaker opponents, which couldn't be a challenge for them. You know? Asked Sasuke, after fight was over. Yes. Family tradition and sensei kinda forced me to learn it, and I learned it from best of all swordsmen. Uzumaki clan, said Kakashi. They were ones that created 7 blades of mist and wrote seals on them that gave them their unique abilities, added Aoi, who just finished his fight. We need to get going. Mizuki-sama is a little impatient. At least she can somehow control her temper, countered Naruto, while looking at Aoi. That's true. Compared to Reikage, she looks like the embodiment of patience, admitted her advisor, and when those words left his mouth they arrived at Kiri gates. Kirigakyo no Sato wasn't a one village, it was more of multiple compounds and villages scattered on small islands surrounding Mizukage Mansion, which was partially carved into a peak of extinct volcanoes. It was almost impossible to spot from afar, because the better part of it was constantly covered by mist, and even if it wasn't covered by it, it was showing only small parts of it, and seals etched into walls of buildings were making sure that seeing them was hard. It looks impressive, but I can tell that a lot of those buildings are unused casually, said Kakashi, and watched Aoi for reaction. Yes. Some of Kekei Genkai clans still hadn't returned and most of the civilians are still returning, and we are eliminating last pockets of resistance all over the city, admitted Aoi, and guards let them pass when they saw who was bringing in Konoha shinobi. Is everybody carrying sword in this village? Asked Sasuke, when he saw that almost every shinobi had some sort of blade at his belt or on his back. No, but we have one of the best swordsmen. Since you will be staying for a week or 2, I think it will be possible to arrange for some lessons, said Aoi, and Sasuke nodded. But now we need to get business with Mizukage out of the way, said cheerfully Kakashi, while dragging the rest of the group towards Mizukage Mansion, where they were immediately ushered into her office. Kakashi and Sasuke were stunned by her beauty, while Naruto somehow managed to save his senses and gently patted them, breaking them out of their stupor. However, Kakashi was more shocked by the man who was standing behind Mizukage. Is that? He quietly asked Naruto. Yugura, Yonde Mizukage and Jinchuriki of Isaba, better known as Sanbai. Blonde finished for him. Mizukage-sama Hokage-sama asked us to deliver you this scroll, said Kakashi, and placed a small black scroll on her desk. She quickly read it and nodded approvingly. Okay, we will get it done. For now, everybody excluding Aoi, Naruto, and Yugura, please leave the room, she said, and shocked almost the whole Konoha team. But, managed to say Kakashi, when Naruto placed hand on his shoulder. You're not cleared for that stuff, so leave, please, sensei. Quietly, his student and Kakashi reluctantly nodded. And once they left Mizukage, and Naruto ran through a chain of hand seals which activated privacy and security seals all around the office and made everything that was spoken stay inside of it. After that, they moved to cushions that were placed around a small table in a room connected to her office, where they were waiting for them tea and sake. Is everything true in that scroll? Asked Terumi Mei, who suspected a thing or two about that scroll. It is, but it is only the outer layer of things. I was given a second scroll by Hokage with more important data. It's protected by an old Kage seal, one that all Kage have, he said, and gave it to Mei, who took her ring and pressed it onto a seal etched onto the outside of the scroll. When she did that, there was a small poof of smoke, and the scroll opened. It looks interesting, and thanks to it we know what happened to Samehada and Kisame. I never suspected he was a Hokage spy inside Akatsuki. Also, this plot with Uchiha Itachi is ingenious. So those two won't catch you or Yugura unless forced? Mei murmured once she read the content of it. Yes. There are few drop points where they are leaving messages, but for more you need to talk with Jiraiya, he replied. Jiraiya as in Jiraiya the Toad Sage? Asked Aoi. Yes. Do you accept our proposition? Quietly asked Naruto after a few more minutes of negotiations. Give me 2 weeks to think and consult with the council. Aoi shows them their rooms and provides everything they need or want, said Mizukage, and rose from her seat, followed by Naruto, Yugura, and Aoi. 2 weeks vacation at the expense of Mizukage. I like it, said Naruto, while stretching comfortably in one of the chairs that were set in their rooms. Not so fast. We can train and will, not as hard as usual, but a light training will be enough, and maybe for Sasuke some, but first water walking. After all, we're in Kiri where there's more water than land, said Kakashi, who appeared leaning against door. Kenjutsu? Asked Sasuke, hopeful that he would learn new skill. Yes. Meet me on the ground behind the hotel. Naruto does not wear armor, there's no point in doing this, and it will slow you down, said Kakashi before disappearing with a puff of smoke. Naruto strapped his two swords to his back and left for the area behind the hotel, where he quickly went through his stretching exercises. It was one of the better areas to train for or sword fighting. It was flat and there weren't many bushes or trees in the way. Water walking? Asked Sasuke, who learned better not to question his sensei. Yes. Same principle as tree walking, but you need to constantly fine-tune the strength of pulses. Too strong and you will be sent into the air, too weak and you won't be able to support your body. It's called water walking, but it can be used to walk over swamps or quicksand, explained Kakashi, and his students nodded and tried. Naruto didn't have a problem with it, because he learned that a few years ago and he could use Suiton to support himself. While Sasuke and Hinata were struggling with it, Hinata had some success. She used her Byakugan to see how Naruto did it, and she tried to mimic his moves and did it quite well. Naruto, how can you have such good chakra control? You have the biggest pool in the whole village and yet you have chakra control way better than mine, asked Sasuke, who felt a little jealous. Training, and clan ability. Senju are known for good control of their chakra. Add to that requirements for certain families and you have an answer to how, explained Naruto, and Kakashi nodded. He saw his sensei working on chakra control almost all the time. Family? Asked Hinata. Rasengan and Hiraishin, replied Kakashi and scratched his chin. Teaching you Rasengan might not be a bad idea. It boosts chakra control and capacity, but I won't do it here and now. It's too easy to copy and you don't have enough chakra for it. What do you mean by too easy? Asked Sasuke, who was trying to keep his balance on the surface of water. It's pure chakra manipulation, no seals needed, replied Naruto, who was trying to balance on. I think that's enough chakra control for all of us, said Kakashi, and walked onto ground. Naruto, can you give me your swords? I don't have any training ones on myself, so I need to use yours for Sasuke training. No problem, said Naruto, and took out his swords and threw them at Kakashi, who grabbed them out of the air. I will work on kunai and shuriken accuracy. After that, Naruto placed 10 targets in different spots at different distances from his position, and few were in his blind zone. How are you going to hit all of them? Asked Sasuke. Watch and admire, said Naruto before grabbing 8 kunai, jumping into the air, spinning and throwing 8 kunai, and quickly grabbing 2 additional from his holster and throwing them as well. There were 10 soft thuds and 10 targets were hit. Impressive. I wonder if Yamato showed you an improved version of this, said Kakashi, impressed by his genin performance. You mean 20 targets? Asked Naruto with raised eyebrow. Yes. It's way harder, but if he allowed you to use Fuma's shuriken you probably learned it and mastered it, said Kakashi. I can do that. But not here. Once we leave Kiri I will do that and maybe teach Sasuke how to do that. He needs to unlock Sharingan to use it to its fullest extent, replied Naruto, and sat on a tree branch and watched Kakashi show Sasuke basic moves of ANBU style. It was a style based on quick and economical strikes, based more on finesse and speed than on strength. For Sasuke it was better than the typical style used by Konoha, which was based on brute strength and not so much finesse. He wasn't simply built for it. He was built for one based on speed and agility. Once he unlocked his Sharingan he would be even more deadly with it. The day before they were scheduled to leave, Kakashi decided to do some equipment shopping, mostly swords for Sasuke and himself. His family heirloom was lost and he needed one, and Kiri sword makers were simply better than Konoha one. And since they were allowed to freely move around Kiri they could do that now. I think the shop will do, said Kakashi, and pointed at a small shop, connected with a forge to his right. Master sword maker, probably it's family business passed down from generation to generation, he explained, and everybody nodded. When they entered they were quickly noticed by the owner, who came out to greet them. How can I help you? He politely asked once they looked around. We need 2 swords, one for me and one for my genin. Full-length katana or ninjato, explained Kakashi, and the shopkeeper nodded and disappeared for a moment behind a counter, and once he appeared he brought 2 small, yet long wooden cases. Relic salvaged from ruins of Uzumaki. Not as good as Shiroikiba or Kurikiba that one of your students have, but still one of their better weapons, he said while opening cases. Inside were 2 katana in black sheath, with a simple guard and grip that was made out of black wood and was covered in red silk ribbon. When Kakashi took one out of its sheath he saw a steel-gray blade with seals etched in it, and with a wave-like pattern that was visible on good steel, and noticed certain signs, but he managed to hide his shock. How much for both? He asked. 1,500,000 ryo. The owner replied, and Kakashi only nodded and took out his wallet and counted money, before handing it to the owner, who happily took it and gave swords to Kakashi. "He doesn't know what he sold," said Kakashi. "Once they were outside, I'm sure Naruto saw those marks on blades. Only one sword making school left them." "Masamu's?" asked Naruto with raised eyebrow. "Yes. That's why I decided to buy them," said Kakashi, and with that remark they returned to the hotel, where Sasuke tried different styles of carrying it and decided to strap it to his back, so it wouldn't limit his moves and was easy to get when needed. He tried to spar with Naruto, but he only got defeated quite easily. How can he be so good at? Some moves were incredible, he murmured afterwards. Well, he is Uzumaki, but still not as good as his mother, said Kakashi, and Sasuke looked at him, questions visible in his eyes. She managed to kill the whole IWA platoon using only her swords. When Sasuke heard those words, he closed his mouth with an audible click and didn't say a word about it. On the next day, they were once again brought to the Mizukage office, where Mizukage and her advisors were waiting for them. "I decided to accept your Hokage offer. Here are the details," she said before giving scroll to Kakashi, who took it and slightly bowed. "Thank you, Mizukage-sama," replied Kakashi and left the room, followed by his genin. They quickly left the Kiri, and once they were outside of Mizu no Kuni and deep inside Hai no Kuni, they were surrounded by 12 ANBU lookalikes. "Those aren't normal ANBU," said Naruto once he saw their masks and noticed what they wore. "I would say they're root." "Yes, they're root, and guessing by their amount, they once again underestimated me," said Kakashi. "Kill them, they're not on Hokage orders," he added, and gripped the hilt of his sword. His actions were mimicked by Naruto and Sasuke, while Hinata fell into the open stance of Juken with active Byakugan. Inbyu took out their tanto with the cut end of it, and charged at Team 7-3 went after each member, while Kakashi and Naruto didn't have problems with keeping them at bay and defeating them. Hinata and Sasuke were hard-pressed, until Sasuke's moves suddenly became fluid and he was able to predict their actions. Kakashi had 3 hardest opponents, 3 captains of those teams. But he knew he had a range advantage over his enemies. He raised his 8 and revealed Sharingan hidden under it, and quickly moved towards his first target, who managed to raise his blade and block his strike. But he couldn't do much to block one that followed first. Thanks to Sharingan, Kakashi was able to avoid the blade of Tanto, and his katana licked his enemy's side. He instinctively let down his guard and caught a wounded place, and that was his end. Kakashi katana quickly severed his head. After that, Kakashi blocked strikes from enemies number 2 and 3, and thanks to Sharingan he managed to avoid their blocks and severe tendons in enemy number 2 arm, and quickly after that he cut his throat. Enemy number 3 couldn't do much and tried in fury to defeat Kakashi by sheer strength and ferocity of those attacks, but he managed only to get 2 wounds on arms, and finally he lost his head, when he miscalculated where Kakashi's strike would land. The Naruto fight was even more one-sided. His opponents were weaker than ones that went after Kakashi, and he had 2 swords, which in such fights made huge difference. He could use one to block attacks, while using second to attack, and many fell for this trick. And that was the case in this situation. He quickly killed enemy number 1, who was foolish enough to underestimate him. Enemies number 2 and 3 were more cautious and synchronized their attacks, forcing him to be careful, but Naruto managed to disable one by licking his leg with a katana and thus making that leg useless. He quickly used it, and quickly stabbed that enemy in the chest and killed him, and before the last enemy could move, Naruto used his second sword to cut his throat. Those were his first kills, and once fighting was over and adrenaline stopped flowing through his bloodstream, he quickly rushed into bushes where he vomited. Sasuke at the beginning was focused on blocking his enemies and just surviving, but after receiving a few cuts his eyesight suddenly got better, and he was able to see his enemy moves. He quickly managed to disable enemy 1 and 2, before the last one could blink he was killed. Sasuke had a similar reaction to Naruto and rushed into the nearest bushes to vomit. Hinata, thanks to Juken, was able to knock out enemies. It took her most time out of the whole 4, but she managed to do that, even if it took her the longest. When the fight was over there were 9 dead and 3 knocked out root. Kakashi walked to Naruto and Sasuke and gently patted them on the shoulder. "Naruto, Sasuke, I know that's hard, but you need to get over it. Over time it's getting easier, but it can't be too easy. You need to find a reason why you kill, to justify it. Here you are killed to protect yourself and your teammates," he said in his soothing voice, and let them get over it. He knew that the best medicine was time and thinking. There was no quick and easy solution to it. After 20 minutes they were ready to continue their travel. They sealed bodies and alive roots into scrolls to give them to Hokage, who would love to question them. Sasuke looks at your eyes. Suddenly, Naruto and Sasuke took out kunai. His eyes widened and a big grin appeared on his face when he saw the reflection of them. He finally unlocked his Sharingan. With only 2, but still it was a Sharingan. Sharingan, he weakly said, and Kakashi patted his shoulder. Good job. I will help you with training once we are in Konoha. Now cut the flow of your chakra to your eyes. You don't want to suffer from chakra exhaustion, said Silver-haired. Few hours later they arrived at the gates of Konoha and that were at the guard duty were shocked by state of their clothes. They were covered in blood and expressions on team faces were grim. They didn't question them, because they didn't want to get Kakashi angry, and they let them pass. Once inside, the team quickly made its way to Hokage Tower, where they were guided to the Hokage office. Mission of rank higher than D required an oral report. They were simply too important to be handed by one of the administrative. Hokage-sama Team 7 reporting from C rank, upgraded to A rank and later to S rank, announced his secretary, and Hokage's eyes widened when he heard the last phrase. Let them in. I was expecting them and told Ibiki to expect new guests in TNI, replied Hokage, and once the team was inside of his office, he glared at Kakashi. Kakashi reported what happened. We were ordered to deliver a simple scroll to No Sato. On our day of travel from the village we were assaulted by Rokusho Aoi and the Demon Brothers, which were quickly defeated by us, interrogated and sealed inside the prisoner scroll. After that we decided to finish the mission. I knew that between me and Naruto we were able to defeat most of the A-rank threats. We safely arrived at Kirigakure where we gave a scroll to Mizukage and waited 2 weeks for her response. Once we were given a response we left Kirigakure no Sato and traveled towards Konoha. When we were around 6 hours away from Konoha we were attacked by 12 A and B lookalikes, which were later confirmed to be from Root. We quickly dispatched them and hurried to Konoha, reported Kakashi, and Hokage face hardened. Troubling news. Why didn't you report meeting with Rokusho Aoi? Asked aged leader. I feared that someone would intercept our message. They were hired by Haruno Mabuki to assassinate Naruto, replied Kakashi, and on Hokage's face appeared fury for a moment, before it was hidden behind his usual mask. I see. You choose the correct option. Now about those Root, can you tell me who was their target? Asked the aged leader. I think it could be me. I finally unlocked Sharingan, suddenly said Sasuke. I see. I won't place information about it in our data, and I will also assign 2 additional A and BU squads to patrol the Uchiha compound, said Hokage, and Sasuke nodded. Not mentioning Sharingan slightly hurt his pride, but it was the better choice out of 2 bad ones. But that's a minor problem, added Hokage and looked at Naruto. You think about those Nukenin? Asked Naruto. Yes, simply said Hokage and stared at portraits of Hokage in front of him. Nico, he added way louder. Yes, Hokage-sama, said the purple-haired ANBU that appeared in front of his desk. Arrest Haruno Mabuki, her husband and daughter, under charges of treason, attempted assassination, and bribery. Ordered. Hokage and his ANBU nodded and disappeared. Now about you. You will receive S-rank mission pay and half of the bounties that are on those shinobi. Also you have vacation till the end of the week, said Hokage, and they understood it was order to leave his office. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoy it. If you want the next part of this video, turn on that bell notification. Like, subscribe, and comment down below. And also check out the others' videos I have created and enjoyed it. See you guys next video. Till that, take care.